Hello, hello, hello. What's up, everybody? Oh, we're already starting off with a thumbs down. That's fantastic. We're getting started early. Oh, the haters are out. They're out in force right now. They're very riled up. They're very triggered. How are we doing today? How are we doing? Hello, Peter and Dahunzi, Donatas and Anja. Carl is in the garden recovery, the patio furniture. Oh, yes. We did have some storms. They didn't get too bad, though. So that was good. That was good. All right. We ready to have some fun today. Who was were you guys all in the demo yesterday, or did some people miss it? We'll give everybody a minute to get in here before we really jump in and dive in. Please show how we can style child elements from parent element in Etch. Let's see. Yeah, if you want to ask questions, you can go ahead and ask questions. Just hashtag cue them so I can find them. Hey, what's up, Toby? Good to see you. Good. Looks like a lot of people were in the demo. That's fantastic. This will be in 4K, unlike Zoom's terrible 720p, which gets even worse when it gets live streamed to YouTube, I suppose. Let's just start here. What does Zoom do with their billions of dollars? What do they do? Why are we streaming in hyper compressed 720p to YouTube from Zoom? Why? I don't know why that is. Why can't I choose the channel I want to live stream to for a webinar that I'm paying thousands of dollars to run to Zoom? Like when you connect your YouTube account, it just forces you to be able to stream to an account. You can't, like, if an account manages multiple channels, that's why I couldn't live stream to the Etch channel, because it wouldn't let me select it. It wasn't an option. I don't know what Zoom is doing. I don't know what they're doing with their money. Let's see. So this is an OG chat after the cram 3,000 people demo from yesterday. Yes, this is the OG version. Okay. All right. Yeah, it's very, man, I don't know. It was a little bit of a bummer. And then we didn't have closed captions turned on in the Zoom, but apparently it has forced them to run on the live stream for YouTube. I don't know. We probably won't use, I don't know that I'll use Zoom again. I mean, I should have just live streamed. I don't know. People signed up. I felt like they wanted a private link in a private room or something. I don't know. I don't really know. The one benefit it gives you that is a legitimate benefit is it captures all of the Q&A in one area to make it really easy to go through and answer the questions and mark them as answered and things like that. I really, honestly can't think of any other benefit. And that's not worth the thousands of dollars they charge for their webinar rooms. So, yeah. Okay, let's see. How many people were in the audience, Maddie? The peak, I think, was a little over 1,800. And then there was also 400 to 500, I think, watching on YouTube. In combo to that. And then I got a lot of messages from people that, Monday is kind of a tough day of the week for people. Monday midday. So I got a lot of messages that people were just going to have to watch the replay. So they weren't able to make it to the actual live stream. But it's good. And I mean, this wasn't really marketed, certainly not like the first event, right? This was just kind of a casual, hey, we're going to do this demo on March 31st. Be there or be square. Get in or don't get in. And then that's just kind of what we did. So we're not, I mean, it's to keep the momentum going publicly, because only the people that were previously in could even see what's going on. We wanted to just kind of put our progress out there for people and keep the momentum going and get them excited and hopeful for September. And we'll probably do, a little bit more effort in September. But yeah. Okay, well, I think everybody's here. So what I'm gonna do is share my screen and we will take a look. I found this website right here, this vibrantpractice.com. And it's got some interesting things. You know, we could do this hero. We could do, this is just a bento grid of images. Not super exciting, this little section right here. We could do, the one I thought was maybe a little bit more interesting was these cards, because we could also, these are a perfect use case for components. And they've got a little bit going on. They've got a little bit going on in them, you know? And it's not really components that, I don't think that there's really a case for looping these, like in this particular section, but definitely making components out of them for sure. You know, there's just some interesting stuff going on. So I'm really thinking probably something like these cards. Do something dynamic. Yeah, well, you consider components to be dynamic? That's pretty dynamic, right? Are you putting the progress on YouTube now? Oh, I think I know what you mean. Yeah. I'm going back to doing my videos, getting back into video production. And the big difference now is that every video I create will just now be done with Etch. So yes, that will by default, it's not like they're not dedicated progress videos. It will just kind of naturally show the progress as things are going. What about modern SaaS websites like Resend, Raycast? What about them, Josh? What about them? I'd be interested to know if Etch will be able to use things like motion, which is really popular at the minute. We will have an animation engine in it, yes. It's not a top priority. Yeah, I know that I will tell you right now that animation is probably the biggest fad in the industry at the current time. And it will likely not stay that way. If I was making a prediction, and I've talked about this before, the reason being is there's really no measurable ROI in animation, though it does add a lot of cost to projects. And companies tend to, you know, not like to just light money on fire. And so once they find out that, okay, well, that would have been a lot cheaper to do without all that animation, and we would have gotten the same results, they will probably just stop doing all the animation. You know, it's the cool thing right now. It's the fun thing right now. But there's been a lot of these fun, cool things that, because they have no ROI, if they have a high cost, they go away. And I think animation falls exactly into that bucket. Okay. Yeah, Ruben. See, even Ruben hates animation. Even a breakdance user hates animation. Imagine that. Okay. So yeah. Just joking. All right. I don't know. Why don't we try to do these cards? Nobody really sounded off with highly opinionated what we should do. So let's go spin up a new website. Okay. And we'll call this, what is that website called? Vibrant. Okay. Vibrant. I don't know. Let's do our branded domain, Vibrant. Okay, we'll keep that for 15 days. We'll create a site. Did I select a blueprint? I don't even remember if I selected a blueprint. No, I did not. It does help to create the blueprint. Let's use the Etch blueprint. Okay, Vibrant what? I'm gonna have to give it a new name now. Vibrant Practice. Okay, Vibrant Practice. All right. And 15 days create site. Okay. And then this one can actually be deleted. Yeah, you can go ahead and ask questions regarding Etch. Happy to answer anything. You can ask non-Etch related questions as well. Like you always said about crappy websites, there's lots of crappy animation. Got that right. For sure. Yes. There's a place for classy and good animation. Yeah, there is for sure. And if clients are willing to pay for it and they understand that it may not, you know, add anything to the bottom line for them, but they still love it and they still want it, then totally you want to be able to deliver it for them. And the easiest way to do that delivering is if you don't have to do it all by hand. If there is a tool that allows you to expedite that, then for sure, that would be awesome. I mean, we're planning on having animation. It's just, if you tied me to a chair and you're like, when should we spend all the time and money on the animation side of things? Would it be like before loops, like making loops even more powerful than they are? Like what would it be? Would there be more ROI in looping third-party data from an API or in animating something on a website? I think that looping third-party data API, probably a lot more powerful and a lot more ROI focused, right? And there's just an endless list of examples like that where we can weigh the pros and cons, and then you see why it starts to trend towards the end of the list. All right, vibrant practice. Let's go. Let's get started. Let's see what we can whip up. Nope, I don't need that to be permanent. Thank you. Okay, so we'll review the stack real quick. It is just ACF, ACSS, Etch. And we don't even need the font thing anymore. That just allows you to upload the files because WordPress blocks them. And that's it. Okay, so let's go edit with Etch and let's add our section. And let's go flip back and forth between what we're building. So I'm just going to add a heading. You saw this yesterday, actually, with our intro. We'll just go ahead and make an intro component again. It's going to be very similar. This is like the perfect example. I built an intro yesterday that literally had every single one of these elements. This obviously looks different. Why does it look different? Because it has different fonts, it has different colors, but literally it's the same pattern. That's why we call these things patterns, right? And this is why frames is so like we have an intro frame, we have a few of them, and you can find this exact pattern and just not have to build it. And like, but it's just funny how I look at websites for a living because like I build frames and we have to build patterns and we have to know what the common patterns are. It's just, I just picked a random site and here is the exact same introduction pattern that I used in yesterday's demo on a completely different thing. So it's just funny how that works. All right, so what we want to do is we want to add our heading. Text, and a link. Now, somebody asked about clicking and dragging these onto the canvas. And, you know, I think because they've used a builder in the past that allowed them to do that. And once you realize that, okay, like, this is fairly objective, okay? How fast or how long would it take me to click and drag this into where it's supposed to go versus doing this? Do you think I can win dragging and dropping? I don't. It's not possible to win that race, dragging and dropping. And so we look at things like this and we say, okay, should we make it drag and drop? Like, what benefit would that bring? And it turns out it doesn't really bring any benefit at all. So we shouldn't do it. At least definitely not yet, not now. Like there are other things to do, okay? Why are these on the bottom instead of the side? You know, someone's like, can I put those on the side? Well, the initial reason that they were on the bottom is because they're easier to get to. The mouse travel on a normal monitor is shorter on this axis, the block axis, right? This is shorter mouse travel than constantly going to the side a lot of times. Depends on what I'm doing, obviously, and where I'm going. But also because it kind of lives with where your other core things are going on. And so your eye travel from like looking at HTML, for example, to what elements do I need next, kind of containing everything in the same generalized area, right? Now, it could end up being a preference at some point, but again, we have to prioritize things. So it's just where it lives for right now. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's say that this is going to be, okay, that says services up there. I'm not gonna bother matching the fonts and all of that, but we will make this say services, and then we will paste that in there. Okay, good. What were they doing with? Okay, all right. I don't know what they were doing there. There's like, I thought some formatting might have gotten in there, but I'm not sure. We'll take a look at it in a minute. All right, let's do this, and let's see what this button needs to say. The process, okay? We'll go over here and say the process. Save. Okay, fantastic. So I'm gonna make this. We're gonna give these. We're gonna BIMify this thing. I just call these things like very generic names, like intro, especially because we'll call it section intro. How about that? Section intro. Heading. This is going to be the headline. This is going to be the lead. This is going to be the CTA, okay? And then we'll go ahead and right click and we will create the BEM classes for these. So all the BEM classes are created. Someone saw me do this yesterday where essentially we can go in and reference all from ACSS. Let me pull this up. So we can reference, okay, ACSS is deciding to play, can't tag me. There we go. All right. So all of these styles that are global defaults that are assigned here are variabilized or they're tokenized, so you can easily reference them. You can reference them for every level, but you can also reference them for all. And so whenever you're doing something like taking text like this, I want to know why. There we go. It's got like the line breaks in it or something. I hate when developers do manual line breaks like that, and it's just don't do that. It's not cool. So obviously we want this to look like a heading. We can make it look like a heading, but we need to make it look like a heading in a scalable, maintainable fashion, which means that the heading styles have to be tokenized. In case the heading styles ever change, this paragraph that is supposed to look like a heading should also change as well. It can't like get forgotten. We have to create these like unbreakable situations where we know things are likely to change in the future. We don't want our fake headline to just break because we decided to change things. And so we can easily come in and reference things like my H2 size. I can say my H2 font weight, or on this particular site, all headings have the same font weight. I can do heading font weight, or you can even do fallbacks like H2 font weight with a fallback of heading font weight. Okay, there's a lot of different ways to approach this. This, by the way, is why you need inputs that actually give you the proper amount of real estate, because I need to be able to see what the hell is going on here. You get all these builders with these little cramped, tiny inputs because they were all designed in an era where the only thing you could ever type in was 60 pixels or 2em or 1 rem or whatever. And they were not built for a variable first workflow in a modern era. These are designed for a variable first workflow in a modern era. And that's it, plain and simple, plain and simple. We can do heading line height. We can do heading letter spacing. Okay, and it'll just reference all these. Even if they're not changing now, it doesn't matter, because if we change these values in the future, it will update them, okay? But I'll leave that for right now. All right, so this one, we want to make it a little prettier. It's gonna be like, it's gonna be a box, okay? It's obviously gonna have a box shadow of some sort. And it looks like, the box shadow really gives it its shape. It's literally just padding with a box shadow attached to it. And then we'll have to change the primary color in just a second. Where are we at? What is going on here? Okay, hold on. Zip, let me go into Vibrant Practice and make sure we don't want to not be logged in. That's not cool. Let's save. Okay, there we go. We got logged out somehow. I'm gonna copy all of this HTML and I'm gonna refresh this. Okay, good, it kept it anyway. All right, we're safe. We're safe. But if it had died, copying that HTML, I can just paste it back in. It's fine, okay? Yes, there's Andrea trying to rescue me. He's telling me I have to turn off my notifications too. Until this evening. Yeah, let's do until this evening. Okay. Yeah, something happened with the login. I don't know what he was trying to tell me. Let me put my phone up here. New password. Yeah, but I didn't reset the password, did I? I don't remember resetting the password. All right. Oh, you know what? It looks like, oh yeah, we did lose some of that. We did lose some of that by getting logged out. Why did Zip log me out though? I literally just got in and I didn't change any passwords. Okay, let's do section intro. And heading, we'll just go through this quick now. We don't need to explain it again, right? Headline, heading. This is going to be the lead. This is going to be the CTA. Okay, right click, create BIM classes. Let's do the heading since we were working on that anyway. So the font size here, we're gonna go with text S. We're gonna go text decoration. Did they uppercase it? No, they did not. We do want the font weight to be 400. We want everything else should be good. Maybe it's got a little bit of letter spacing in it. Nope, doesn't even have any letter spacing in it. Okay, let's go with layout. We're gonna go with padding. We're gonna go with, actually, we're gonna do padding block 0.5 M and then 1 M on the inline. We're just gonna eyeball this. That seems about right. That seems about right. Okay, let's close that so we don't have too many tabs open. I can take this while I'm here, or did I already put that in? I already put that in. Okay. And let's just give it a box shadow. So I think under, yeah, we can't do box shadow here yet, but that's okay. I can just do it down here. Box shadow 0, 0, 0, 30 pixels red. So I need 30 pixels right here and 0 right here. Okay, well, 20. And let's see. I mean, it's pretty close. It's pretty close, guys. So now I can just come in and reference, that's probably their primary color. Maybe like a primary semi-light, maybe it has some opacity, I don't know. Let's go ahead and grab their primary color, which is right there. We'll pick color from page. We'll steal, why is it not actually looking at the thing that, what is this tool even doing right now? Let's come down, is there let's try this contact one. So we're gonna try that again. Pick color from, well, it'd be nice if the header didn't disappear when I did that. There we go. But I think, is that giving me, oh, I gotta be quick. All right, it was giving me like the hover value. All right, so let's go into ACSS. Let's go to color palette, let's go to primary. Let's just drop this in. I think that's gonna get us, I don't know if that's exact, but it's gonna get us close. Okay, so our primary color is the way it is. Let's go with button primary. So a little bit of a command enter gets you the attribute bar. And now a lot of this stuff is done in ACSS actually, right? So we can come in here to buttons and links. We have our global all button styling that we can manipulate if we want, which I believe we would need to because these buttons are gigantic. And they obviously need more block padding. So if we have our padding down here, let's see, padding. Okay, so this is gonna be our block padding. Let's do 1 M there. And that's probably good enough. And it looks like we just need to reduce our border radius in general. So I'm gonna go with like 3 pixels there. Just like barely, they're rounding the corners, not much. Okay, and then what we wanna do is we wanna do our text on our, so we have text color on our button right here. And I'm just gonna say this is primary ultra dark. I actually could have just flipped through that with my up down arrows, but we do something like primary ultra dark would work. And then we'll just check the hover style on that. We probably wanna be ultra dark there as well. So just flip through those. Okay, that's good enough for now. I'm not trying to make everything exact. I just wanna get the general vibe. Okay, let's do this. I had to take those line breaks out again that they put in. All right. And then we'll just quickly whip this up. So font weight is heading font weight. By the way, you can just copy these to your clipboard. Let's do our H2 size there. And let's go font weight. We can just do letter spacing and then we can do line height. Okay. All right. That's good enough for now. All right. We will make this into a component. And what we want to do is text prop, text prop, text prop, text prop, text prop. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we're going to say this is the heading. This is the headline. This is the, and I'll say like, yeah, okay. We'll just leave it. We'll just leave it like that. This is the lead. This is the button text. And this is the button URL or button link. You can call them whatever you want to call them. Let's just link these up real quick. So that's gonna be the heading. That's gonna be the headline. This is gonna be the lead. This is gonna be the button text right here. And the button link, I'll just copy to my clipboard. I'll select the button right here. I'll come down and we will paste in props.button link. All right, I can preview, back to preview now here, save, and we'll save actually over here as well. Let's go look at this on the front end, and we can see now that we have a, we have a component there. Okay. Next thing we want to do is we want to add that property for it being centered or not. And by the way, you could put as much or as little effort into these things as you want. Am I required to create a component out of this? No, I'm obviously not required to create. I could, if I wanted to just do it static, like you would do it in Bricks or you would do it in any other builder and just move on with your life, you can absolutely do that. There is no requirement to go the extra step of creating a component. Is it smarter to create a component? Yes, it's way smarter to create a component. How much variability do you need to bake into your components? That's completely up to you. That's completely up to you. I could center these things and maybe I make a decision. Maybe here's the good thing about components, which by the way, am I losing some section intro, data etch element container, flex start gap? Let's look at this for a second. What is, going on here with my, I'm going to take the, I feel like, well, obviously this is supposed to be content width, right? And I'm wondering why it's not happening to be. Actually, what I'm going to do is add another section real quick, and I'm going to see if for some reason this section is behaving differently once it crashed when I got auto logged out. Let's go here and just see. Okay, it was just I think it was just a CSS rendering issue temporarily. Oh, was that the still? No, okay, it's when there's only one. That's a very interesting thing. Let's bring this into here and let's, oh, that's even more interesting. Save. Okay, I think we have, I wonder if this is caching. Do they have caching on ZipWP? All right, now that's behaving width-wise, and it's not behaving with our gaps. And I'm thinking a flex direction column, flex start, align, gap, 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 gap. Okay, hold on. Let's go to spacing. Do we have auto? We do have auto spacing. That's on. Let's go gap of, let's just put this in here and see if it takes it. Or if there's something else going on. Okay. How about this? We're gonna go into edit component. We're gonna go, we're gonna do, well, actually, I like this up here instead. So let's go flex and let's set it explicitly to column, and let's explicitly set a content gap. Okay, let's save there. And now it should be perfectly fine on the front end. Let's go test it. Okay, looks like it's behaving. All right, sounds good. All right, let's go ahead and let's build in what we talked about with our variability here. So I just want to add a Boolean prop. That Boolean prop is going to be is centered. This is like one of the easiest ones to do. What you're going to do is you're going to copy the key. Okay, there's a bunch of ways to do this. I do it with a data attribute, but you can absolutely do it with some sort of utility class workflow. You can use these props however you want. There's probably no less than like 4 different ways to have an is-centered situation happening. The way that I'm doing it is just one example of how it can be done. And the way that I'm gonna do it is with a data attribute, okay? So I'm gonna say data intro centered equals, and I just want it to say true or false, right? And this prop, this Boolean prop, outputs true or false, depending on the toggle switch, right? If it's on, it will output true. If it's off, it will output false. And so this is eventually gonna say, if the toggle is on, it's gonna read data intro centered equals true. And then because it's a data attribute, you can just style it like any other selector. And eventually you will be able to do this. I'll show you. So notice it, put it down here, put it in the HTML right there, which I could have just written it down there if I wanted to. But if I prefer to use this command bar right here. And then what was the other thing I was going to say? Oh, yes. Eventually I would be able to actually do this, okay? Data intro centered equals true. And I would be able to add that as a selector to this element so that it can be styled right here on its own, that is coming. That is planned, okay? It's not there yet. So what I have to do now, and it's not, I mean, it's not all that much more, like, it's just different, okay? You can just use CSS, native CSS nesting, which is the ampersand is essentially a reference of this class right here. And so if I reference that class and I attach another part of the selector to it, like data intro centered equals true, I am now styling that thing. And so I can say background of red. Now I think we have to preview, so we can preview that prop, right? And now we see that it's red. I can do whatever I want to it. In this case, because it's entirely for the purpose of whether this thing is centered or not, I would like to align items to the center and text align everything to the center. Now we go one step further and we say, well, I only want that to actually happen, because remember on mobile, I probably don't want it centered on mobile. And it wasn't centered a second ago. That's actually how I want it on mobile. And so if you want it like that on mobile, and you only want it to be different on, let's say, desktops or laptops, or even horizontal tablets or whatever, any breakpoint that you feel is where it should change, this is the point where you would use a min width media query, okay? Or other term for it is a mobile first media query. You might hear mobile first. If you don't know what mobile first is, that is taking a min width approach to breakpoints, where it's I'm looking at this and I'm saying that's how I want it to look on mobile. That's the default. That's how I want it to look on mobile. And then I'm gonna go up from there, okay? So I'm only gonna make a change at bigger devices. I'm not gonna make the change everywhere and then undo the change at lower devices. I'm gonna leave it the way that it is, and I'm only gonna change it at bigger devices. That's a min width media query, okay? And so you can write media and you do min width, and then it's just the breakpoint. And in this case, I'm just gonna pick a random number, 769. I don't really care. It's not a client site. We're just making it work, right? Notice that when I pasted that in to that media query, it is showing here. But if I go preview, now it's to the left. Why is it to the left? Well, because I only told it to change at 769 and up. And this is previewing 768. So this is what it's gonna look like on tablet and mobile. And this is what it's gonna look like everywhere else, okay? So will you be able to do this in this left panel over here? Absolutely, of course. However, think about this. It's not going to work the bad way that it currently works in every other page builder. In every other page builder, when you select a breakpoint, this custom CSS goes away. And you are presented with a blank slate of what is supposed to happen at that breakpoint. The problem is you can't see anymore what's already happening at other breakpoints. And so you're playing this game constantly of flip back and forth, okay? And figure out, and then when you have 4 breakpoints or 5 breakpoints, that's a terrible game. Nobody wants to play that game. And then you're putting different values in these panels at different breakpoints, at which again creates that game of, oh, hold on, what was it before? And so the panels will clear because they have to. You have to be able to put a new value in. Obviously, there will be placeholders to tell you what is already happening in terms of the value. However, it's okay that these clear. You know why? Because this will never clear. You will see all of the media queries right here, and you will see all of the CSS of what's happening. So you have the bird's eye view of what's going on here while you still do every part of your workflow over here if desired. Now, if you don't mind writing a media query, which by the way is gonna be triggered with functions and recipes and things like that, then you can just write it down here, okay? Again, there's Etch allows you to use the workflow that you prefer. There are 3, 4, or even 5 ways to accomplish the same thing, and you just determine as a user which one you like best, okay? There's the easy ways, there's the more technical ways, there's a hybrid approach. You can do whatever you want. You're not limited in that form or fashion. You're not pigeonholed into doing something a certain way. It just is what it is. And so now what we have, for those who aren't realizing it yet, is we have an introduction that can be centered or not centered, right? Okay, and so in this, and then we can have different instances of this where they can be controlled independently of each other. They can all have independent content. It's very, very, very easy to create this and make this happen. All right, let's go ahead and and I'm gonna steal this color here. This is gonna become our base color. And let's grab that. All right, we do wanna try to match this just a little bit. So I'm gonna go back into our color palette, go down to base. I'm gonna drop this in. And that's pretty much gonna cover our text. So I can go to our text and backgrounds now. And under backgrounds, I can see that we have base dark, base ultra dark, base light. That should all be good. Default text color, yada, 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 base dark. It's pulling base for all of these, which is great. A little save, it'll update the swatches here. And now you can see right away, my text is essentially using the base color now. And if I need a background color, I can have it very easily. Like this looks like a base ultra light, okay? And so now I can come in and I can say BG base ultra light. And now I'm getting that color, okay? So that's what all of these tokens and all of these utility classes just help tremendously with managing all of this stuff. And I'm seeing here that I want to obviously limit the max width of this paragraph. Very easy, edit component, grab the lead, come into dimension, and then max inline size. I can do something like 50 characters, okay? I can save. Now it's limited to 50 characters. Maybe a little bit more. And by the way, you can preview this in here. So again, you can click the I toggle, and now you are getting the preview. The only thing is when you click the actual element, it has to show you the key to be able to change the key, right? So I'm gonna go to 60 characters on that instead of 50 characters. But if I click on a different item, it'll switch and show me the preview again for this one. So I can see now that that is exactly how I want it, and I can just go ahead and hit save. I'm not gonna worry about much else going on with this introduction. I think people get the point. The cards in this section are much more interesting. So there's a lot going on with these cards. This is part of the card down here, by the way. So this part of the card is clickable. When you hover it, there's a lot of things happening, like this icon. It doesn't actually change. What it does is it rotates. If you look at it carefully, it doesn't change from a plus to an X. It just rotates. The other stuff gets light. This paragraph appears. And then this thing stays down here and is the same at all times. And we want to make this is the exact kind of thing you want to make a component. The exact kind of thing you want to make a component. Oh, what I was going to explain to you about the intro. I decided right now the only variability I wanted to add in was whether it's centered or not centered. But if I get to another section on the website later on, even a different page, and I'm like, oh, my introduction needs to have this variability. Well, it's a component. So you could just edit it and add that variability in at that time. And now that possibility is everywhere, but none of your previous components are affected by what you just added. So that's the maximum flexibility that you get with like properly architected components. You can build in the complexity when it's needed. You don't have to imagine what all the complexity is that's needed and build it all in at once. You can just build it in as you run into the scenarios where it's required to have it, which is very nice. Okay, so what are these things called? What should we call this thing? Let's just call it a main feature card. It's like a feature card. We'll just say main feature card. It's not like a basic feature card, you know? It's a pretty involved feature card. Let's just call it main feature card. We'll call it main. Actually, this is our grid. So we'll call this feature main feature grid. Literally the hardest part of all of the stuff that we do is just naming things. That's the hardest part. Let's go to flex div, and we're gonna say that this is a main feature card. And then we really need to figure out what our structure is gonna be here. Obviously, let me put pro mouse on, okay? This is obviously like a box, right? And then this is gonna be below the box. And I like to do these on the stream where we go slower. We're not 100% focused on Etch right now. We are doing what we always do, which is let's try to teach something. Let's try to learn the process. Let's try to You know, like there's so many people look at this. I just got a thumbs down on that, by the way. Why would we get a thumbs down on that? You don't want people to learn? So many people look at a layout like this, and I know they think to themselves, I don't even know where to start. I don't even know where to start. And so that's why we go slow, and I show you, here is where you start. This is where you start. I don't know how this is gonna work. I've never built this card before. I don't know how this is gonna work, but what I do know is I can start with a box and a heading under it inside of my main box. So this needs to be a box. You need a box for all of this. And then look, it's a battle of the thumbs up and thumbs down going on right now. I'm telling you, the trolls are out in force, and they hate no matter what. It doesn't matter how good you are. They hate. They hate. That's all they can do. It's all they know how to do. They're small, small, small people. Okay, so we got our main box right here called feature card. What I want to do is I want to put another box in it, which is another flex div. And then I just want to drop my heading down below that. So I'm going to drop my heading down below that. When you're in Etch and you have something selected and you click, they're going to become children. If you hold Command and click, they will become siblings. So that's like a little bit of the distinction there. I'm going to call this my media wrapper, because to me, when I'm looking at this box, this is like media going on here, which I say media because it could be an image. Image is a form of media. A video is a form of media. I build more abstractly to where if you wanted to replace the image with a video, you could do so without having to change the names. If I use the word image in the class name and then it becomes a video, well, that doesn't really work very well, does it? Or vice versa. But if I use the word media, hey, I'm not limited suddenly. Like somebody could switch that out for a video and it still makes sense that it's media, right? Okay, that's kind of the why behind why I named that the way that I name it. All right, and then we have our heading down here. And so, all right, we did step one. Like I got my box, I got a couple boxes on the page. So now we got to go back and we got to make our next decision. Clearly, there is an image inside of that box. And these are images that mean something. Okay, if we go back to Page Building 101, you can use CSS to use something called background image. That is not a real image. That is a fake image that is rendered by CSS. It is not an image rendered in the HTML of the page. It's not crawlable. It's not indexable. It's not anything else, okay? An HTML image is a real image. You actually put an element in. And the general rule is if the image means something, which in this case to me, they do, they're not purely decorative. Like they're kind of important to the context of the page and what's going on, and you probably want them indexed in Google image search perhaps and whatever. So I make them real images. If it's purely decorational, which to me is like abstract shapes or some completely meaningless, completely darked out, background image that's nobody's really paying attention to, that you can use CSS background image for. But in this case, like it's a prime part of the communication that we're doing on the page, all right? So I use a real image for this. So inside of my media wrapper, I want to have my media. Now we're gonna go see if we can grab this, save image as. Okay, let's go to download, save image as, and seems like it is actually grabbing the image that's in there. Okay, great. So let's go here, let's click this, let's go to media library, and actually we can just probably shortcut up here. It's probably this one, and this one, and this one. Okay, and we'll just say use that media. And by the way, if you put your alt in here, okay, doctor in a lab coat or something, and I say use this media, it will automatically be your alt in Etch as well. I'm gonna go to main feature grid. We're just gonna drop a class on there real quick. I'll say display of grid template columns of grid 3, 1FR on the rows. And now it's gonna look more like a card, okay? Because it's actually sitting inside of our grid. Let me catch up with our chat here real quick. Sorry, accidentally the thumbs down, trying to thumbs it up 2 times. So, well, Tyree, you're giving me a complex, Tyree. All right, I think we're good. There's a lot of questions in here. We will get to the questions. Don't worry. Okay, what is the heading supposed to say? A unified system for functional, integrative, and longevity medicine. fucking awful. It's terrible, terrible. Unified system for functional integration. That was like literally they all got in a boardroom together and they were like, what's your favorite industry keyword? And one guy was like, functional. And another one was like, it's got to be integrative. And another guy was like, longevity medicine. And they were like, we'll just take them all. We'll take all those suggestions. We'll just put them together in one headline. Yeah, that's a bunch of gobbledygook, as they say. All right, so let's paste that in. And next thing we need to do, if you're going step by step and you're just trying to figure out what can I do next to make this work better, okay? So we need to continue. If we're gonna auto-BEM this, ideally, you get all the things in that you need, but you don't actually have to do it that way, okay? You could stop here and auto-BEM if this is all you're comfortable doing so far and then work your way to it with more details and then add what's needed. The only difference is for the elements you add later, you would need to just add the classes manually to them, right? Auto-BEM can do all of it in one swoop, okay? But not everybody can look at this and really understand the exact structure that is necessary to make this work without getting started on the styling, okay? And so I'm gonna show you, if that's you, if you're like, I can't go any farther without starting to add some styling to figure out what the hell is going on here. If that's you, you can totally auto-BEM right here, okay? So just look and see, media wrapper, this should be called a media, right? It should be called media, and this should be the heading. That's fine. Let's right click, let's create the BEM classes. Now we can start styling, and then we can add more elements in a minute, and we can just manually add the classes to them, okay? They're all gonna start with main feature card. So the thing I wanna do is I want to probably add a gap here, okay? So I'm gonna go down to gap, and I'm gonna use something called card gap. Card gap is a contextual variable. People that aren't, if you're not familiar with ACSS, like it's obviously a lot to explain. I don't need to explain it all. All you need to do is watch and go, oh, here's the thing I want you to notice. Never am I using what are called magic numbers. I don't just make up a number. I don't just go, well, 20 pixels looks pretty good. Let's just stick that in there, right? Never. That's not the modern approach. That's not the approach you should be taking to things. And I saw somebody in the recommendation, they were like, you should make the mouse wheel scroll up and down the values. Hell no. No, never. There will never be drag handles. All those things do in builders is they make it easy for you to use random magic numbers. And then people wonder, why is my spacing off? Why does this look out of balance? Why is this out of proportion? Why is there no gutter on my website? Why is there da-da-da-da-da? Because everything's not standardized. Everything's just random. You want to avoid magic numbers at all costs. And tokens allow you to do that. And then we contextualize tokens so that we can do the same thing in all these different places and everything is mad consistent. And you get the benefit of, I don't ever have to inspect and say, what's the value they're using? Oh, okay, let's just put that in. Oh, the value changed. I guess I gotta go everywhere that I wrote 30 pixels and I gotta change it. Like, we don't play that game. We don't play that game. And this is why I can move very quickly. I don't have to think about values. All I do is plug tokens. It is a completely tokenized workflow, which you can do without ACSS. You just have to do all the work to create your own tokens, which is, it's not a small task. Okay, so see, I got a gap in there. The next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna notice that this has rounded corners, okay? Now, I also want to make sure, so if you were to put in, I'm gonna show you a problem with, I think what they've got going on here. Let's go to Unsplash. I'm just gonna show you a problem you might run into if you don't see it ahead of time. It doesn't really matter what image I choose. What I'm looking for is a horizontal image, okay? Because when they gave me, let me resize this real quick. When they gave me the tall images, it worked. But like Bev or a photographer, they might want to switch this out. And what if they don't give you a tall one, okay? What would happen? So we're gonna grab this. We're gonna get the one that I just put in. There it is. And let's use this. Oh, our entire card shape changes. That's not good. And then what if you put some wide and some tall? They're not gonna be the same. So the first thing you have to work out here, and I'm looking at this card as, do I have to absolutely position this image and then control this media wrapper height? Or can I perhaps do this some other way? Because there are things that are on top of other things, which means that something has to be potentially absolutely positioned here. Is it going to be the image? Is it going to be the things that float on top of the, what is it going to, there's actually probably more than one way to approach this and solve it. And ultimately it may not matter, but we have to work our way there and figure it out. The process I'm going to start with is I'm just going to set an aspect ratio on these images. If I force this aspect ratio to happen, all cards will be the same size, except for the potential to have different heights in the heading lines, okay? But for now, it seems like, and again, sometimes you just guess along the way and you just make your best educated guess as to what needs to happen. I'll show you what it looks like right here. So I'm gonna go to dimension, there's an aspect ratio, and you don't even need to know the aspect ratio. I'm gonna do 4:3. You can literally work your way there. 4 by, let's do 5, 5, 2, there you go. You can just, is that right? I don't know, 2.5 divided by 3. Then you eyeball it and you're like, okay, I don't know, that seems to work. If you didn't know, you can use any values here. You don't need like commonly accepted aspect ratio formulas or anything like that. You can literally put whatever fraction you want here. Totally up to you. So let's go to border and let's go with a border radius of, I can do card radius. That's the contextual one. And I think on this site, and this is why I'm using the contextual card radius. Remember what I did with the buttons, the global radius. And now actually what we should do is look, okay, there's a radius here. There's a radius here. There's a radius on buttons that is different. And there's a radius here, which is different than the radius here. I, for one, well, this looks maybe like it's a concentric radius for this thing right here. So this is actually probably the global radius. That's the global radius. The button is not using the global radius. You want to determine what is the global radius, the radius that shows up most often on a website. That is what you would program as the global radius. These all look very consistent. It's the buttons that are different, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open ACSS, I'm gonna go back to borders, and here is my global radius right here. And you could measure this if you want to. I don't care to. I'm just gonna put a 15 pixel in there. You're gonna see, okay, that's about right. You could even say 20, you could do 18. Doesn't really matter because you can change it at any time. That's what's fantastic. I can build the entire site and then change my radii and good to go. It's inconsequential because everything is tokenized and everything is the way that it should be. The beauty of ACSS also is that like you can literally design the entire website. If you know what you're doing in terms of what tokens you're using where, you can do the entire site without setting it up and then just go in and put in all the values and then the site is it looks the way it's supposed to. It's mad flexible. If you just follow the process, it's mad flexible. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do, because I changed my global radius, all I have to do is go back to my buttons, because my buttons are allowed to have a completely different radius. Look, they just reference the global radius, but they don't have to. I can just put in 3 pixels and now buttons are 3 pixels and the global radius stays the global radius. So this is why you contextualize things. We have a button context versus a card context versus a global context. These are the common contexts that you find on a website, which is why this is so flexible and quick. It's quick. Okay, like you see how we're working towards where we want to be? Like, well, look what we've done so far. And now I have the ability to swap any image in here, and it doesn't matter because its aspect ratio is forced. My card is not going to break. So this is good. So the next thing we want to do is figure out how the hell we're going to get these floating elements in here. Or perhaps this blur, like you decide next, what do I want to do? Do I want to do the blur? Do I want to do getting this paragraph in here? Do I want to get this pill thing in here with this button right here? How am I going to contain all these things? First things first, all of these show up at the exact same time. To me, it looks like they are all self-contained in one additional box. If I make one additional box, actually probably need 2 additional boxes. So a box for this and this, maybe. Hold on, I'm trying to think about that. Well, I'm trying to think of the best way. Because again, there's 3 or 4 different ways to get there. And I'm trying to now, in my head, I'm calculating, I'm weighing pros and cons that I know, okay, I can make that absolute, I can make this absolute, but do I want to do that? Maybe I just want to put them in the same inner container and I want to flex them apart. That might be the better approach, okay? These are the pros and cons that you weigh. If you're not able to weigh these pros and cons without actually doing something, that's totally fine. You just do something. Just do something. Just start. Just do the next step. And then if it's not working, you can undo it and you could do it a different approach. Or if you find a con along the way, you can be like, that's a deal breaker. If it's a deal breaker con, then choose a different method, right? So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm just going to start with getting another container in there and then maybe that paragraph. And to me, that container is going to be absolutely positioned. It's going to stretch the entire height of this image, this media wrapper that's going on, and then I can put a paragraph inside of it and I can position the paragraph that's inside of it. That kind of sounds like a lot, but it's not all that much. So in my media wrapper, I'm going to add a flex div. And we're gonna go ahead, and I need a little more real estate. So I'm just gonna grab myself a little extra real estate here. And then I'm just gonna call this the overlay. And the overlay can actually be used for other things. And if you think about it, like all those things are actually overlaid. So it would probably make sense to contain them inside of a box called overlay. Now I want my overlay, and remember I don't have a class on this yet, so it's main feature card overlay. So I just hit here, Command Enter, right? Main feature card overlay. That's not hard to do on your own. I auto-bimmed everything else. It's easy to add a manual class. I want to display this as flex for sure, but I want to position this as absolute, and I want my insets to just be 0, okay? So 0 and 0. And if you don't know, oh, by the way, I want my main feature card anytime, or actually my media wrapper, anytime you're going absolute position on something, you're going to want to make sure its parent is relative, right? Parent is relative. And now it's going to be contained inside of that parent. So I'm just going to put a background color on here of red so you can see what has happened. I put a flex div inside of that other div. I positioned it absolute. And when you do an inset of 0, what it tries to do is it tries to attach itself. Imagine a box that's like, can be molded like clay. It tries to attach itself to every corner. If it tries to attach itself to every corner, it will just automatically be the size of the thing that it is in. And that's exactly what happened. I have a giant red box now. But it doesn't have to be red, does it? It doesn't have to be red. Right now, it can be maybe a different color. Maybe it can be base dark trans 40 or something. Ooh, it looks like an overlay now, doesn't it? Okay? So I just gave that box a background color that's overlay-like. And now I can see if I want to put other things in it. And what would it look like if I put other things like a paragraph inside of it? And let me just throw in some Ipsum content here. So I'm going to say Ipsum short. It's going to give me some Ipsum content. Oh, look at that. I have that. Okay, so I'm just going to call this overlay text. And I'm going to add a selector to it. Main feature card overlay text. Now I'm styling. What do I want to do to this? I want to make it white. So I'm going to say color is white. Okay. Pop quiz. Does anybody, like, I could do this or I could do this. Are they the same thing? They look the same. Pop quiz. Why aren't they the same? They're not the same. I'll give you the answer to that. They're not the same. Why are they not the same? Why are they not the same? What else can I do in my overlay while you guys answer the pop quiz question? I'm going to come down to padding and I'm going to say, I want this to have card padding. Oh my God, that just looks perfect out of the box. Why? Because cards are contextualized and that just kind of happens to work. But if I needed to change it, I could always go to my card framework and I could go to spacing and my card padding is right there. I can just change it at any time. These things are very, very easy when all of the common contextualized areas of a website are completely tokenized. It is an absolute joy. It is easy to do your work. You don't have to do any thinking. You just work. var is easier to maintain, not the same because you're using a var token that you can then, but I would not change. Here's the thing. I would never change, here we go. I would never change the value of that token because then the token name would not make sense. So there is another benefit. I would never I could override white to make it red in some sort of crazy edge case, but that is not the primary reason why it's tokenized. you can rewrite the token with another color if you, okay, yeah, everybody's on that. I mean, technically, but there is you could put the nail on the head. There's one case where you put the nail on the head. There it is. Michelle got it. Michelle got it. When you switch to dark mode. So a tokenized white is compatible with dark mode, light mode. A static white is not compatible with dark mode, light mode, okay? So that is the big, and I don't know if we're gonna do dark mode, light mode in the future. It's just safer to use the token. It's just, there's no downsides to using the token. There is a downside to a static reference, whether it's that or this, it doesn't matter. There's no downside to that. There's only upside. I'm gonna do things that have upsides and no downsides as a general rule and a general principle. Okay, so let's keep going. Guys, this overlay is just a box that can have its stuff aligned just like any other box. Look how easy that was. I now have my paragraph in the exact same spot. Now, there's one potential problem here, and that is, well, I don't know if it's a problem yet. I don't know if the overlay and the paragraph have to arrive at different times in the animation. I don't think that's gonna be a problem. I don't do a lot of animation. I don't think that's gonna be a problem. But it doesn't matter if it is, we can find a workaround. We can find a workaround. Point is, I'm working my way to where I need to be, right? What if I put in another flex div? And I'm gonna go ahead and say that this is the overlay content. Okay, so I have overlay text and overlay content. Let's see here. Yeah, I want that flex div to be on top for sure. What do I want to go inside of overlay content? They have, I mean, it's like a fake button. It like looks like a button. Well, this is gonna be fantastic to do because it probably has the same exact padding as buttons do, but it obviously looks different. It obviously looks different. Okay, and then there's this icon thing over here. Let's go to huge icons. Let's just search for plus. Okay, plus. And let's go ahead and put in the, can I have a plus that's just naked? There we go. I want a naked plus. Let's go black and let's download our SVG. Actually, I don't know. Yeah, we don't actually technically have SVG support. Well, it's not icon support. Because Gutenberg, I don't think can render just naked SVGs like that. We have to engineer some sort of way to do that for Gutenberg. So we're a little bit limited right now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cheat. That's gonna be a white icon. I'm not gonna be able to change the color of the icon is what I'm getting at on the fly. So I'm just gonna download the one that I actually need. And we're gonna just make it white, okay? And let's just download the white one. All right. All right, sounds good. So we're gonna go in and I'm gonna need two things in here. I'm just gonna put in a paragraph and a paragraph, okay? Or I'm sorry, a paragraph and an image. And this image right here is going to be, now we do have SVG support. So normal WordPress installation, you try to upload an SVG, it'll go, file not supported, right? Then you gotta stop what you're doing. You got to go out to plugins. You got to download a plugin called Safe SVG. You got to install that plugin. Now you can go back to your media. Now okay, well, you don't have to do all that dance. We just enabled SVG support. So you can just use it. You're allowed in Etch to use an SVG. You don't need anybody's permission. All right, if you're an admin, I think it's only for admins. All right, so this is going to be overlay text, and this is going to be overlay icon. Now, I can try something here, like we say data icon, and I'm wondering, do I even have I don't even know if I have the icon framework turned on, and I have never even, it is turned on. I don't even know if I've never tested it in Etch before. Icon style by default is boxed icon style by default. Okay, let's do a little save. I wonder if it's going on the front end, but not in here. Again, these are the things that we have to continue testing. Let's see, let's make sure that data icon is in there. It is. Okay, well, the card or the icon framework may have a little bit of a limitation, but we'll keep going. Overlay text. We're gonna say that this is the main feature card and this is the overlay text. All right, perfect. What did I call this? Overlay, oh, overlay content, okay. Main feature card, overlay content, perfect. All right, this is overlay text, has the var white. This has the var white as well. I want to call that overlay button because it's not the same as overlay text. If you didn't know, you can click this little thing and it'll remove that class, and then you're free to put any other new ones on here that you want. So main feature card overlay button, because it does kind of look like a button. All right, so we do want to color this white. And awesome. Okay, I have this flex div called overlay content. We can say the flex direction here is row. And if we do align items, or actually would it be justify now, space between, there we go. And if I go with the main overlay, which is where all of that stuff is, let's see, justify content here, probably space between it, all we need to do. What does that button say up there? Built for personalized medicine. Built for personalized medicine. All right, save. So now let's just go to the front end and let's look at our progress. So we're just inching closer. That's what you want to do. If you don't know how it's all going to work in the very beginning, you just inch your way closer to the solution. And you cross your T's and you dot your I's as you go. I'm noticing a little bit of an issue here. We'll do a pop quiz. What fixes this right here? What fixes this right here? I hate the delay that's on YouTube. That is the one good thing about the Zoom live stream. No delay. You don't have to sit around and wait for answers to show up. Okay, they got it. Overflow hidden. Overflow hidden. And that goes on the media wrapper right here. I believe that's under visibility, overflow. You can actually do overflow clip as well. Okay, so overflow clip. It should be, in this context, it should be the same. What I'm looking at now is overlay media wrapper. Oh, that's very interesting. Let's see what's going on here with this. Okay, because you guys are right. You answered the question correctly, but we should media wrapper overflow clip main feature card. Shouldn't need it here. Yeah, it's not that. Main feature card media wrapper. Main feature card overlay. Shouldn't be there either. I'm actually might need a little phone a friend in this one. Because that is not doing, even on the front end, this is not an etch thing at this point. It is a, what the hell is the browser not clipping for? Feature card, main feature card, media wrapper, main feature card. Is the radius on, no, we can't put the radius on the parent. The radius is on the media wrapper. Or is it? Did I put the radius on the parent? I did not. I don't think so. No. That's why. That's probably why. That's why. Overlay media right here. Bang. You want to remove it from that media wrapper. You want to put it on here. And it's easier to do it here. Border radius of radius. Okay. Border radius of radius. Okay. Solved. All right. See how you step yourself closer. All right. Let's take a look at it again. Take a look, see. And actually I'm seeing now, those things are not supposed to be white right here. Okay. These are not supposed to be white. So when you're deleting styles, you know, normally in a builder, you got to go find the inputs and click little buttons and go clear style, clear style, clear style, clear. The good thing about the CSS, you can literally just, it doesn't matter if there's one property in there or 50 properties in there. You could just go delete them. This is going to be main feature card overlay icon. Okay, just like that. Awesome. Unfortunately, we downloaded a white icon and there's nothing we can do about that right now, but that's just working through some limitations. Okay, how about we make the paragraph, the overlay text right here, opacity of 0. I would imagine that's under visibility, opacity of 0. Seems good, right? Maybe what we should do is tackle on the media wrapper a hover style. So we're gonna say and hover. There will be inputs for doing this, but as I've said before, this is where a UI in every builder I've ever seen tends to fail. They're really bad for managing hover styles. And if we can engineer a better way to do it with inputs, we will for sure. But almost always, it's better to manage hover states in CSS. Like, it just is. Like, and I explained this in Page Building 101 that if you really want to do this work, like you just need to learn CSS. Use the inputs when they're faster, but you got to know what's going on so that you can skirt around the inefficiencies of a visual interface, because there's always some semblance of inefficiency in some regard somewhere. And when that happens, you want to work around it, right? So what we want to do is and hover. So when we hover the media wrapper, and then we want to target the overlay text, okay? So that is main feature card overlay text. So media wrapper, okay? Main feature card overlay text. This will also be easier when SAS is here. See that? See that? See that? Okay, we can just change. We set the opacity to 0, and we're saying, okay, now when somebody hovers the media wrapper, which is essentially that entire area right there that's housing our media, we're just gonna change the opacity of that thing back to 1, all right? So that gets you that. Now, we don't want it coming in like that. That's a pretty abrupt, right? So what do? Well, we need to go and we need to change our overlay text here. And we need to say that we're gonna transition this. We're gonna transition what? Well, we're gonna transition the opacity. Well, what's the duration of this transition gonna be? I don't know, 0.3 seconds. What's the timing function? I don't know, ease. Good, seems to work. All right, so now, yes, it would be nice if we had a UI that helped you through that, right? You will have one. You will have one. Eventually, you will have one. It's a top priority, right? Can't have it in 6 months, but it is a top priority. You will have it. So when you see me do stuff like this, it's still easy for me to do that there than it is to find the input for it. Even if we had like, I think, what are we gonna call it? We're gonna call it, effects. That's what we were gonna call it, effects. So you'll see an effects tab right here. You click on effects, you'll have transition, you'll have a bunch of cool stuff in there. But again, it's not there yet. Okay, so, but look, I mean, we got to where we need to go, right? All right, sounds good. The question here is, are we managing this separately from the overlay? We don't know what we're supposed to be doing yet. We're just trying to inch our way to the final outcome. And again, I am stressing this out and taking my time because I don't want to lose beginners in these kinds of things. Beginners are very easily left behind. And so if we go at a normal pace, they will just throw up their hands and be like, I don't know what the hell. I don't know what's going on. And they'll just leave. Okay, I agree with that. I feel like hover styles are always tedious. Yes. Filter color tab too. Yeah, filters will be in there as well. It will all be there. It will all be there. Okay, so we need to, let's take a look at how does the blur even happen? How does the blur even happen? And this is actually, okay, let's do it. It's backdrop filter, right? Backdrop. Look, it's auto suggesting it for me, okay? Backdrop filter, 5 pixels. And this is actually where, because I don't do backdrop filters all that much. You can't be afraid of looking at documentation, okay? So we're gonna go to backdrop filter. We're gonna throw a blur in there. You can do other things, like you can invert, you can do a sepia, you can do a lot of different things. We're just gonna take that first suggestion right there and we're just gonna blur it, right? So we'll go blur, it's a blur function, 5 pixels, and you can just step this up, 7, 8, what's it supposed to be? Well, look at what they did. I mean, that's pretty damn blurred. So what we need a value that's pretty damn blurred. That's a pretty damn blurred value right there. A lot of people would go like, oh, let me inspect it. Did they use 20 pixel? We have to get out of the mode of this idea of like pixel perfect websites. You are building to what would it be called? I can't think of a great word for it, but it's not the exact specification. It's the personality of the design. That's what you're building to, the personality. Nobody is going to come along and be like, what the hell, man? It's supposed to be an 18 pixel blur instead of a 20 pixel blur. Nobody can know. Nobody's going to know. Nobody's going to know. Right? We can use that meme. They're not going to know. Nobody's going to know. It's literally is it pretty damn blurred? Okay, pretty damn blurred. We check the box. It's pretty damn blurred. Okay, so you have your backdrop filter here. Now, how are we going to do this? The main state is probably 0 pixels, right? And then on the hover of the media wrapper, which by the way, this is where nesting really comes in handy. It gets a little bit complex. You got to be careful with it, okay? You can easily get lost in it if you're not careful. But with this one hover statement, I can control multiple things going on here, theoretically, right? So I might go main feature card, and then this is going to be my overlay, all right? Overlay, and I want the backdrop filter to blur to 20 pixels, okay? See that, see that, see that, okay? Now, what I want to do is I want to go to my overlay, and let's see, I want to go to my media wrapper. I'm sorry, this is where, no, I want to go to my overlay. And this is where I would manage my transition for my backdrop filter, okay? And I'm pretty sure that's a transitionable property. We'll find out in just a second, okay? There you go. See that? See that? You just work your way, step by step. Get to where you want to go. Also, this thing needs to look like, does it need to look like a button? Yeah, it does. And then it just needs to change color, essentially, okay? So here's my overlay button right here. I'm gonna go to layout. We'll go to padding. And actually what I wanna do is I can do button padding block, button padding inline. These are just ready-made tokens that will reference my button padding. The next thing that I wanna do is I wanna add a border, and I want to do a border of button, I believe button border. See, you get into this area where you can also come in and you can go to cheat sheet. You can go to variables, and we can go to button, and we can look at these, and we can go, okay, here's everything. It's button border width, button outline border width. This does look like an outline button, so I'm gonna go with button outline border width. I can even just copy that to my clipboard. I have my button border style, my button border radius, all of that is good, okay? So let's go with button outline border width here. Perfect, button outline border width here. We'll go with button border style, and we'll do that on the block and inline, and then our radius will be 50 VW because we want it to look like a pill. And button border color, this is a, what button color is that even? What button color is that even? It's actually the same color as text dark, I believe. Okay? Yeah, there we go. And if that looks a little thick, it's because our button border is a little thick. So buttons, we're gonna go to global all buttons, and then border styles. Here's your outline width. I can just change that to 1 pixel, and this should update in just there you go. There it is. There it is. It just updated, okay? All right, so we've referenced some button properties so that we can keep those globalized with our button styles, but we also threw in some just unique styles for that button right there. We're gonna go here, align items to the center. We'll put those things in line with each other. And man, let's just go back to the front end. We've taken the next step, okay? We've taken the next step. We're getting some transitions going on in here. This is all very well and good. Okay, next thing that we're gonna do. And I'm now realizing that I copied what they did. Built for personalized medicine. What is their actual link? I'm wondering now, what is their actual link? What did they link up? Here, there's an SVG. That's not linked. What did they actually add the link to? Did they link the entire thing? I don't see a link here. Here's the card. Oh, there it is. They linked service. Nope, hold on. There's the service block. Okay, they linked the entire wrapper. Not ideal. Not ideal. Not ideal. I mean, probably the most built for personalized medicine. None of this, see, did they add an ARIA label? What does this announce as? Let's do a little test. Can I get, excuse me, where's my helper? Nope, not that. There we go.
Voiceover on Brave. Oh. Vibrant vertical line application.
Hold on.
Control center.
Hold on.
System dialog.
Hold on.
Display. Sound.
There we go. There we go. Holy smokes! Shut up. God. Talk about beating people's eardrums to absolute death. Do you see why I said that's not ideal? It's not ideal. It's not ideal. You need contextualized, you need a contextual link. And then you need to extend that to the parent, okay? Yeah, that's not the best approach. That is not the best approach. Okay. Oh, you couldn't hear it? You had to have heard it. Oh, I know why. It's got to be this. Hold on. Oh, you're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. Just stay tight. You're gonna love this. Tell me if you can hear this now.
Voiceover on Brave. Etch blueprint. Voiceover off.
Do you hear that now? Just give me a yes. Oh, you're gonna love this. You're just gonna love this. Just wait for it. You're gonna love this. I need to make sure you can hear before we do it. Okay. This is so fun. You're gonna love this. You ready? Here we go. Oh, hold on. It's what is it? Shift Command F. Okay, hold on. Let's get back to it. Okay, ready?
Voiceover on Brave. Entering Vibrant. Menu.
Hold on.
12 items. Closing menu. Link. Become a vibrant practice. Link. Learn. Link. Link. Built for personalized medicine. Go beyond the basics. Vibrant helps you connect the dots across a complete set of data points and workflows that matter in root cause and longevity-focused care. Built with security at the core. Doctor smiling at a patient. You are currently on a link. To click this Etch blueprint, voiceover off.
Woo! That's a lot. It's a lot of reading. It's a lot. Every single link somebody focuses on is going to read out like that. That's wild. That's nuts. You don't want to do that to people. Okay. So ideally what we do, overlay button. I want to say built for personalized medicine, okay? I'm going to replace this with a link. We're going to go into our overlay content right here. Let me get back to my sidebar. Overlay content. Let's drop a link in there. Oh, not a loop. Nope, not the loop. Let's drop a link in there. Perfect. And then we're going to put that same class on there. It was called overlay content. So main, feature, card, overlay, content. Wait, was it overlay? Was it overlay content? No, it was overlay button, wasn't it? Overlay button. Okay. Main, feature, card, overlay, button. Okay, there we go. We didn't lose it. Let's go to typography and let's do color of text dark. Okay, perfect. That's a bit better. See, I had the class with all the styles, so I could change the element and then just pop the class back onto it and not have to worry about it. And then the content I copied to my clipboard, so it still says built for personalized medicine. Then we could do this. And then what I can do is I can extend the link, Okay, 2, I'll put an href in there, and I can extend the link to the entire card, or the entire media area of the card. Man, I haven't done this manually in so long. Okay. Does that extend our link? I always use my recipes for this, which, okay, yeah, that works. See, it's all clickable now. Now mine's gonna read out. You ready? It's not gonna have a focus style, but it should read out properly.
Voiceover entering at link, built for personalized medicine. You
See?
are currently on a link. Voiceover off.
We don't have to beat people's ears to death with all of the content inside of the card. We can just give them the actual proper link. And now what we want to do is we want to change the focus. See, I do have recipes for this, but they're all configured for bricks, right? Focus parent. Let me expand that. Focus parent recipe. Boom. It's going to drop all this in there, which I can probably replace roots with ampersands and probably get away with this. Let's see. Where's my focus currently? It's on that button right there. And no, that's clearly not working. So, oh, you know what? It probably dropped in. This is very dangerous at this point because these are not formatted for this. Oh, and focus. Yeah, that's correct. And focus within. Let's take this out of here. And before. These are very dangerous to use. I wouldn't recommend this until they're reformatted. They'll still be formatted properly for bricks, but they need to be, these recipes are all gonna move natively into Etch. Focus is within, outline, box shadow, none. Focus within, outline, var, focus width, solid, focus color, focus offset, outline, none. That all looks actually correct. It depends on focus width, focus color. No, that should all be fine. Unless, let me go to transition options. That's that. Okay. Oh, that's sorry. I was looking at something different. I was looking at like 2 different things. Could you shadow as well? I don't know. We'd have to debug. This recipe is untested inside of this environment, so it's no surprise that something's wrong with it. But point being, when you read it out, you can see the difference of reading out an actual readable link that makes sense, and then versus everything that's inside the card, which is a terrible approach. Okay, so what we're gonna do here is this is overlay button, so main feature card overlay button. We need to go back to our media wrapper where our overlays are happening. Main feature card overlay button, right? And then we have button border color is white, okay. And did I use, that's the question, did I use my variables here? Let me get a little extra real estate here. Okay, so button padding block, when I went to border, button border, I didn't. See, I referenced just text dark. So we'll just go the opposite. We'll go with text light. Okay, so media wrapper, we'll go with border color of text light, auto wrap, thank you. That's good. And we'll also do the color of text light. And there you go. And it's already transitioning because it's, I think it's part of the button family. Okay, let's go review. Boom, 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 boom. The icon would be transitioning exactly the same if we had support for icons, but nevertheless, you see that we've essentially arrived at where we want to be. And at this point, you would just say create component, and now it becomes a component, and you want to replace all of the editable areas, all of the things that need unique content with props, which is this one. Oh, we can do the animation of this if you want to real quick, but I want to just do the props real quick. So this is 1, 2, 3, the image being 4, okay? So let's just go ahead and 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll just call this the card button text. Okay, I will just say button text like that. And then you don't have to use the word card over and over. These are actually scoped to the component. So you can use the same exact prop keys on other components without any conflicts. We can do the heading, and then we can do the featured image, okay? Oh, the link, the URL, okay? All right, perfect. We'll call that link. All right. So we're going to take the button text. We'll do this targeting right here. We'll drop that in. We'll do our heading, which is right here. We'll drop that in. We will take the featured image, copy that to the clipboard, go to our media, and in the source right here, I can drop that in. And then we go to our link. I'll copy that to the clipboard. I'll find my link right here, and I'll come in and drop that in. So all of my props are now mapped. And if I go back to the component, main feature card right here, preview, say I'm previewing this. It's not previewing an image because I did not put a default value in for the image, which is fine. It's giving me a semblance of a placeholder, so it doesn't really matter. Let's go ahead and save our component. Excellent. Save featured image. So one thing you're noticing, what do we obviously need to add very soon, is when you're creating these props, text, Boolean, you need one for image, or really what we call media. So you can have a media specific prop. That way, if I go back out here, right here, I'll have my little media selector inside of this prop. Notice it's just a text field right now, and that's not ideal. So we create a media prop, and you'll have a media selector as an input right here, which would be ideal. That would be nice. For now, go back to the editor, and we're gonna go, actually we'll go completely out to Word. It would be nice to have a back to WordPress so I can actually skip the editor side of things and just go back to WordPress. And this is why obviously magic areas are atrocious, right? Because nobody wants to do this. And by the way, I wanna copy the relative path to these, not the static path. Okay. So we're gonna go in and we're just gonna say that's my featured image, because we're not pulling these through a loop, right? We're not pulling these through a loop. This default data is actually the content that we want, and the link can go wherever we want it to go. Now this is a component. I can duplicate it 2 more times, and I'm back here in my media library, so I can do something like grab the other image that we're supposed to be using. I can come in, and now I can see, and I'm gonna give you some examples of how these things add total flexibility, right? So let's go in with this. Notice it can have its own unique little image, and it can have another different heading. So what is the other heading supposed to be? Let's just pull that in. Let's do this. All right, we'll pull this in, and we'll put that here. Perfect. All right, and I think you get the point, right? I don't know that we have to do the third one. But now look, so they can have their unique content, but if I ever need to alter the structure, I can go in and I can start editing. Notice I can edit any instance of them. Imagine that these needed to flip-flop their position, okay? So it's like, man, I wish I had put that icon before the link. So I hit save on my component, and now they're all like that. They're all like that, but they still have their own unique content, right? This one can still have button 1. This one can be button 2. So I have full control over HTML, and then of course styling, but I also, can have unique content in every single one. Okay, let's do. I think that's enough for. We're kind of out of time. We did say we were going to start, limiting these to 90 minutes, but I went ultra step by step on this. I spent a lot of extra time going ultra step by step to try to not lose anybody. And if you notice, I do want you to notice something. At what point did I touch the HTML? At what point during any of this did I touch the HTML? I believe it was at no point. At no point. So you can hide this box. You can't do it yet, but you will be able to hide the HTML. The point is that if I do need to touch the HTML, if I get into a situation where I need to touch it, I can touch it. Or if I prefer to touch it, I can touch it. Do I have to touch it? No. Do I have to look at it? No. So for those who are like, oh, beginners are going to see that HTML, they're going to run for the hills. Well, no, they're not. Okay, they're not pansies. Okay, they're not. But they can hide it. They don't have to touch it. They don't have to look at it to do their work. What part of what I just did was harder than in bricks or something, right? What part of that was more difficult? The only thing is that I had more things, I had more options at my fingertips, like creating a proper component. It was actually easier, in my opinion, I think we can agree, to map the props to where they needed to go. I think that part was easier, right? So what part is harder? What part is harder? There isn't a harder part. Do the inputs, some of these need to get more robust? For sure. They can get more. This is level 1 of the inputs. So they will get easier in that fashion, perhaps. But in terms of the code you're looking at, again, I watch this right here. You ready for this? Okay. Let's pretend this doesn't exist. Let's pop this like in here and just shrink it up as much as it'll go. So now let's pretend we're not looking at it. We don't have to look at that. I have no bottom bar now. I only have a left-hand sidebar. I can work totally like this. I can work totally like, and if you're like, well, Kevin, what happens if you need to get to that custom CSS again? It's right there. It's right there. This is a toggle back and forth between those two modes. Now, I prefer this, where I expose both of them at the same time. But you don't have to do that. That's the beauty of Etch. You work the way you want to work. You don't have to use anybody else's workflow. You don't have to see panels you don't want to see. You could just do the kind of work you want to do. If this is what makes you feel safe, right here, these inputs, and that's it, and you only want to see the CSS in very rare instances, you can do that. You can totally do that. Okay? Now, by the way, I would literally I would recommend you do this just for the purposes of watching it write it, you know? Like when I go to here, let's go to, these are all components now. I'm gonna edit a component, okay? And I click on a box, I'm seeing what it's writing, like as I'm doing, look at this. I'm seeing what it's writing as I didn't write any of that. I wrote none of that. I wrote the before. And then I dropped in a recipe that wrote this part for me, okay? The inputs wrote all of that. And you can just see what it's doing as you do it. And you're learning the language, and you're learning the syntax, and you're learning the format so that, and when I did my CSS Live course, when I taught CSS to people who didn't, they weren't super comfortable with it, I told them, your main goal is to just get comfortable doing a little work in this area, because once you have just a small degree of comfort, it will demystify itself. And once it starts to demystify itself, you will start to gain ground very, very quickly. You will gain skill and ability and experience very, very quickly. And then you will be able to do things that you just could not do a few months ago, And that is the benefit of working in an environment that not just allows this, but empowers this and recommends it, right? And is dynamic in the sense that I can fill out an input. I mean, we can watch it right here. Okay, it's gonna fill this out for me as I do it. All right, does that make sense? What's going on here? See the padding block down here. Now watch. I'm gonna change this to. I'm just gonna take away the button. Watch what's happening in the input. Look at the input up there on the top left. It's real time. It's real time. I can change it in either place, right? Or I can watch it author itself. Take it away. It's gone. Look, it's not there anymore. I add it, there it is. Real time, I can see what it's doing. And you come to the conclusion and you say, I could have done that. And these names that you're looking at, this is teaching you. You can't look at this and say, I don't like that. I don't like what that's called. I wish it said something else. That's what it's called, dude. That's the name of the property. Do you want to learn or not want to learn? That's the problem with other builders. They don't teach you because they took the names and they were like, we think people can't do that. We're just gonna make our own names for things. And you don't learn anything. You spend 3 years, you learn nothing. In Etch, you spend 3 weeks in Etch, you'll be starting to do magician stuff that you were never doing 3 weeks prior, right? This is the benefit. This is the benefit of an environment like this. All right, let's go to, this is why I love this, because I've always been using the inspector to change CSS items to see what it changes, and now Etch does that for me. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Does Etch crash currently? No, I've never once had Etch crash. What we saw at the beginning of the stream was the zipwp install logged me out while I was in here, which caused it to crash because it couldn't communicate with the database. Because I don't know why it logged me out, but yeah, I have yet to, there's not been an instance where anything crashed. Yeah. Oh, we logged you out. Yeah, how did you log? I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. They must have been doing something. Okay, let me answer questions. We're gonna spend a little extra time here because I went extra slow, and I know the advanced people are like, oh my God, get on with it. Build the card already, right? But like I said, we're making the case that, you know, this is a tool for beginners. Honestly, it's a tool for beginners that want to learn and beginners that want to take the right approach to things. So we have to go slow when we're talking about all these classes. We have to go slow when we start to make a component and we talk about props and we start linking those up. And when we're doing hovers and when we're doing absolute positioning, and very, very easy to lose people. It's very, very easy to lose people. So we got to spend extra time on that. We don't want to lose beginners. We want beginners here. We want nothing more than beginners to do this stuff the right way and use the appropriate tools, right? But I will spend some extra time and we will answer some questions. Okay. Pretty sure you were getting DDoS because of the bombs you were dropping on the bevs. Could be. All right, I'm going to get out of the chat and I'm going to hashtag Q and we're going to go straight to questions. Okay, please show how we can style child elements from the parent element in Etch. Okay, I will do that. This is not the proposed current workflow, and I'll explain why. The proposed current workflow involves Sass, right? So, I got to get out of component editing mode. So I'm going to add a section to the page. Here's my new section right here. And we're going to say that this is a heading, text, and a button, okay? And I want the heading to be ahead of the text. Did I add a button or did I add a div? I think I clicked div. Okay, let's get rid of that. Here's our container. I want the button, which is a link. It's called and maybe we can cover that real quick. Why is the button called a link? Well, it's not really a button. It is legitimately a link, but buttons are not buttons, okay? If you're new here, and I'm not talking about in Etch, I'm talking about in web design. Buttons are not buttons. The thing you see that visually appears to be a button in 90% of cases is actually a link. You want to take a link and you want to do something like this. You want to style the link as a button. That is very different from something called a button element. And we'll do a little pop quiz. I like to do these pop quizzes on these streams. What is the difference between a link and a button? Let's just put that in. Who can say the difference in the limited amount of space that YouTube gives you in the chat? We'll do a little pop quiz. And I need to switch back to chat to see the answers, and we'll get our grade. Who is first on the keys? Since we have access to HTML, do we need dedicated code block, or is it possible to just add code to a div? It depends on what code you want to add. If you want to add PHP, you will do that right. I'm going to bring my HTML editor back. Let's get it on this side. You will add the PHP right here inside of the HTML. This is where you will do that. If you need to add JavaScript, you will add a code block to add JavaScript. Buttons are for triggering on-page actions. Link is for navigating to another page. That is the best explanation that I've seen in the chat so far. I mean, Justin got it, but Justin abbreviated his a little bit. And since we're helping beginners out today, we want the little more, you know, verbiage. Helps out a little bit. So we'll give props to Strike Goat. That's exactly it. A button is for triggering on-page events. A link is for taking somebody to another page. Okay. So we want to, this is going to be, we'll auto-bem this as intro 2. So we have heading, lead, and link. We'll just do that. That's fine. Create BEM classes. There we go. We're done. See, that's my goal. And by the way, this is level 1 of AutoBEM. You have to keep that in mind. Level 1 of AutoBEM. It's going to get auto BIM renaming, auto BIM replacing, auto BIM copy styles from one thing to another. It's going to get many, many, many layers. And it's going to get far more powerful. So we're building this from the ground up, by the way. So if you're familiar with auto BIM in automatic CSS, it's going to be way better than that. We are building it from the ground up. We've learned a lot since that first edition of auto BIM was built, and it's only going to get way, way, way better. Okay, so we have intro to, and we want to do intro to heading. It's as simple as this, right? So at intro to double underscore heading. So you're using nesting, right? Now the problem with this it's not joined. Okay, it's a child, so you have to have your space here. This is not actual BIM, right? This is kind of doesn't have the same advantage of BIM. I'm going to show you why it doesn't. Like, does it get the job done? Yes. Is it totally workable? Yes. Yes. It has one downside. All right. We're going to go to now, when we SAS power this downside will completely go away. So we're in a phase right now where this CSS box is not in its final form. Okay. And once it's in its final form, oh my gosh, it's going to be a rock star. Okay. It's just not in its final form yet, but we're going to take a trip to the front end and we're going to take a look at this. We're going to see where the red is coming from. Okay, and we're gonna hover over this. And you see, so proper BIM specificity would be 0, 1, 0. This has specificity of 0, 2, 0 because two classes are being referenced, okay? Versus all of this happening in a flat format. And I'm fairly certain once we have SAS power here, we're gonna be able to flatten that back to 0, 1, 0. Now, how big of a deal is that? Probably no, not at all. Probably not at all. All right. So no huge issue, but it is ideal to keep your CSS as flat as possible and your specificity as low as possible. But this is literally styling components or styling child from the parent, right? Intro to double underscore, what was that called? Lead. Okay. Color blue. Color. My ring finger was like, no, I don't think I'm gonna work. I don't think I'm gonna work right now. There's a blue lead paragraph styled from the parent. Now, I will show you a magic trick because the next thing that you're gonna ask is, Kevin, what if we have to reference this class from its parent? Oh my gosh. Like in relation to a specific parent. So we're gonna have this section, right? Which is my section. Okay, we're just gonna add a class called my section. And we want from this element to style this class, like what if we gave it a background? But we only want it to have a background of red when it is in a specific parent. Ooh, can we do it? Can we do it? Is that a limitation of not having a root selector? Is that a limitation of not having a root selector? No limitations. No limitations. This ampersand in nesting CSS, this is vanilla CSS. This is not SAS. Vanilla nesting allows you to reference the current element in context to a specific other selector by inverting where you put the ampersands, right? So normally you do ampersand and then my section has to be a child of the other thing. But you can actually reverse it and say, what if it's a child of this thing right here? What if this thing is a child of this thing? That's where I want my style to take place. And you can see there, yeah, this is, wow, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. All of these are gonna be selectors, by the way. Like you're gonna be able to do like my section ampersand and just enter and just style that. It's gonna end up as a pill right here, a little badge that can actually have styles attached to it. So if you would rather do it that way, which then will enable the inputs on the side. Okay, obviously when you do stuff like this, you can't use the inputs currently, but when you can do this, then you can. By the way, I want to do something on my keyboard. I haven't done this yet. I was informed by the team ahead of the stream that if I did this, you might see a proof of concept for something. And I'm 100%, I have not touched this yet. But we're going to see what the hell happens when I do it. Oh, let's do it again. Search is not great. Let's just click this. Things are being added. Oh boy. Oh boy. Okay. All right. I don't know. It's looking decent. It's a POC. It's a POC. I don't even know all of its capabilities, but it does something. It does something. Here's the selected block. Oh, I can delete the selected block. I can duplicate. I can create a component from here. Let's try that. So here's my selected block. I'm intro 2, and I'm going to create a component. Oh, okay. Then I can just add things inside of it. Can I do that? Oh, I can. Okay. That's promising. That's promising. Let's cancel that. Okay. You're seeing it here live. I don't know. Things are happening at all times. I don't know. There's always, I wake up and it's like, hey, there's something new happening. It's Command K. Command K. There is a bit of a delay in it. I don't know if it's the animation onto the page, or I don't know what the dealio is, as they used to say in the 90s. But we should check on that, because when I hit Command K, there is a 3-second. It's literally, nope, that's instant now. But I'm already in like some sort of Command K mode. I don't know. But the first time I call it, it's like a little delay. So we might want to check on that. But all they told me is it's a proof of concept. That's all I was told. But yeah, that's fun. That's real fun. Command K will conflict with plugins like Command UI. Every keyboard shortcut will conflict with somebody's keyboard shortcuts, which is why there's going to be a shortcut manager. And then you are just going to be able to manage your keyboard shortcuts to your heart's content. And you will have no conflicts, because you are the manager and sole author of your keyboard shortcuts in Etch. How do you manage a pseudo element? Oh, well, great question, my friend. Look at that. It's so easy. I'm managing a pseudo element. Padding. Pseudo elements. Whip them up. Whip them up like magic. Once again, just as with hovers, way easier to do pseudo elements in CSS than in an interface. I've never seen an interface that handles pseudo elements in an efficient manner. It's always a click, 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 click nightmare. You end up in click hell, in panel hell. And I mean, look what I just, you got to take my word for this stuff. This is why this is the Mac Daddy layout. Because some things are, nobody wants to type flex direction and grid and all this stuff over and over and over again. Inputs. But you got to understand, for some stuff, this is unbeatable. This is especially with nesting. It is absolutely unbeatable to just do it here. So just learn a little bit. Just learn a little bit, get comfortable a little bit, and you will be a rock star. And your life will be way, 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 way better, okay? This did not auto wrap. Space M. Okay, there we go. We tried to do something with the autocomplete here, and there's a little bit, sometimes when I hit the closing bracket, it doesn't expand, but sometimes it does. By the way, look at these tokens. You know, I wanna like, look how easy this is to just step up. And this is like, I want sliders. Okay, well, these are like intelligent sliders, right? These are all ratioed out on a mathematical ratio. So they always look good in relation to each other. But you know, one thing I hear all the time is, Kevin, I can't use automatic CSS because I want to build custom websites. Okay. Okay. ACSS was designed to build custom websites. Okay, so that's number one. But they're like, but I want a value in between space XS and S. And it's like, do you really? I mean, do you really? But okay, I understand. You usually often don't, but sometimes you do. That's fine. Okay, there's an in-between. There's an in-between. There's an in-between. There's a lot of, there's any literal outcome that you are not limited in any form or fashion. There's a lot, you could do whatever you want. What is stopping you? What is stopping you? Nothing is stopping you. There is only upside. I say this all the time because it's very important. I like to play games where there is only upside and no downside. There is no downside to using a framework like automatic CSS. There is only upside. If there was a deal-breaking downside of some sort, I wouldn't use it. It's what I don't do. I don't play those games. I don't play those games. Which is why I don't use the Elementors and the Divvies and the Beavers. There's so many, like a laundry list of deal-breaking items. And I just, nope. There's no downside to using automatic CSS. By the way, I'm not stopped from doing this. It's not like, oh my God, ACSS is installed. It's now illegal to do 0.5M if I need to do that. It's not. Well, you just do whatever you want. Do whatever you want. Do whatever you want. You're not stopped from doing anything. Okay. Let me go to back to, we got to go back to cues. Cues. Okay. Oh, one of the installations I think we were using Yabe web font. Any plans to implement local fonts into Etch? Yes. Will this WDD be viewable later? Yes. Every stream is automatically viewable afterwards. How many licenses have you sold since yesterday? How many? Oh, we already answered that question. How many people were in the audience? Consider using Meld as streaming software. Okay, yes, I will. Zoom, trust me, I will not live stream with Zoom anymore. Does Etch allow any HTML tag, or is it restricted to allowed Gutenberg HTML tags? What about security, like in the case of bricks? Every HTML tag will be allowed. Currently, Gutenberg can only render the HTML tags that we have parsed properly. But we are in the process of adding all of the parsing for more. And soon, very soon, yeah, you will essentially just be able to do whatever you want. You can literally copy an entire HTML code from a page and paste it in, and it will render inside of Etch. And then all of those will have parsing attached to them, which means they will automatically, once you save, author everything to blocks as well. Okay. If frames are redone in Etch, will frames still be needed? The plugin will not be needed. You will put your license key somewhere in Etch, and it will unlock the pattern library for you inside of Etch. Where will other elements be present when it develops, like tabs, accordions, etc.? Is it in the bottom bar? That's a really good question. This is a quick bar. You can put whatever you want here. Everything else will live in a drawer that comes up, and you can easily get to things inside the drawer, or you can Command K things onto the page, just like this. But this is going to be programmable by you. You will drag things out of the bar into this quick bar, and you can drag things off of the quick bar into the drawer. So you can hide what you want to hide. You can show what you want to show. The drawer is probably going to be organized by like dynamic elements, third-party elements. Like it can have form elements. It could have like whatever. It could be organized, right? And it's going to be, I would say, less used items. You want your most used items at your fingertips, and then things you don't use very often can just live in the drawer. Okay. Maybe Etch should automatically rename the props of a component based on the class name it targets. Components are automatically named based on the structure panel name. That's the best way to do it. But check this out. So if I go in here to main feature card, for example, I'm going to edit this component, right? See this main feature card? Another name. It can have another name, which, by the way, okay, let's go ahead and save here. Notice it says main feature card in the structure panel, but the actual component is another name. So your structure panel names can be different from your component names, which is very, very, very flexible. They're the same by default, but they don't have to be, okay? So these are editable areas. You can even give your component a description, right? You could say, this is what it's for. You can write little notes to yourself, or write a little love note to Bev, or well, Bev's never gonna see it, but someone on your team, if you wanted to do that. Okay. What about rich text or something like WYSIWYG editor, bolding, underlining, linking? Oh my gosh, Branislav, is that the correct pronunciation? I cannot reveal. I will just tell you this. Rich text elements are trash in every builder I've ever used. They are absolute trash. Etch will not have a rich text element. If I have anything to say about it, it will have something far better, which I am not going to reveal and I'm not going to discuss in detail because I don't want, look, we're not ready to prioritize it yet. And I don't want somebody else, I don't want these other people running out and being like, oh, we did it first. And then this happens to me all the time. I mention things on a live stream, pops up somewhere else, then I do it because I had planned to do it originally, which is why I mentioned it in the first place. And then those people are like, no, we did it first. We had the idea. You took the idea from us. Okay, I'm not playing that game. We can go back to the live stream records and see who talked about it when they talked about it, all right? But I've learned my lesson. Okay, when we're ready, you'll see it, and then you'll go, fuck, that's way better. That's way better than a text area element. That's what's gonna happen. You are gonna see, and once again, it's something that you've never seen in an environment like this. But it's already planned, and we already know exactly what we want to do. And so, Branislav, if you like those kinds of areas, you are going to be in absolute love with this thing that we've got cooking. Okay. Is there any plan to create a bridge from F4F to Etch? Token-wise, yes. Yes. Also with ACSS, yes. Structurally, it's not really, it's a mess because Figma is not a development tool. And I've never seen anybody do it successfully. So, yeah. I mean, you can make it happen, but it's a mess under the hood. It's a mess. And we don't want to make a mess. So if we can find a way to not make a mess, okay. But right now it has to be a mess, and we're not going to do that. But the tokens, yes. You will go click, click. All your styling from Figma will go and just magically appear in ACSS or magically appear in Etch if you're not using ACSS, whatever you want. How are you handling gutters? ACSS props. Automatic CSS handles gutters automatically. I'll pull it up to show you. So here we go, spacing, and we'll go to standard spacing, section spacing, gutter. Right here, it's responsive automatically out of the box. This is your min value, this is your max value. It clamps between them, and so you can adjust this at any time and make your own little custom gutter. I usually go like 80 pixels, and then actually drop this down usually on mobile to even more. Something around 16, 14, something in there is good. But yeah, you can totally control your entire gutter situation from right here. Okay, what do you mean by SAS mode? This is gonna be SCSS, so this is CSS, it'll be SCSS. If you're not familiar with SAS, don't worry about it. You can write vanilla CSS in SAS and it will process just fine, but it adds a lot of superpowers. You can have mixins, you can have functions, you can have maps, you can have loops, you can have so much stuff. It's just amazing. You can have SAS variables, which are far more powerful than native vanilla CSS custom properties, as they're called. It is just a new world opens up to you. But if you're not familiar with that world and you're scared of using it, you can totally write vanilla CSS and nothing will change. Can you try a hero, a content grid, and the image on the side that touches the edge of the screen? Yeah, I mean, we can try various things. Let's just go ahead and delete this section, and let's go to, flex div. Let's go in here. Let's add media. Let's grab something from the media library. And let's grab this one right here, use this media. Let's grab a heading, text, and a link in here. We can do something like content gap on here. We can do something like grid 2. How about grid auto 2? Do I have auto grid turned on? I don't even know if I have auto grid turned on. We'll just go with that kind of grid. Let's go with the stretch class. Let's grab this. Actually, I'll just align these to the center. That should be align, align items, yeah, center. We're gonna have justify, sorry. We're gonna have autocomplete in here, very, you won't have to do this. Justify, oh, it's just, yeah, that should be justify content. No, that should be align items right there. That should be on, let's take grid auto 2 off of here. We should have align items Unless I don't have my flex classes turned on. That's a possibility. Spacing, I might be using pro mode. I don't know in any of these blueprints what I've configured them for, but we go to options, utility. I do. I have pro mode on. So it's expecting me to use BEM. When you're using pro mode, it gets rid of all of the, it's like takes you from a utility first workflow to a BEM workflow, essentially. And it only leaves the utility classes that are useful outside of a BEM context. So, but let's do this. We can just show you. We'll just turn off pro mode. And that should enable all the things that I was trying to do there a second ago. Okay, let's save this. And let's go back. The stretch class is now working, which means align items to the center is not going to work, which means justify content to the center is going to work here. See, okay. So now I can use a utility first workflow. It was configured for BEM. It was not configured for utility first. Because I don't recommend a utility first workflow. I don't use the utility first workflow. Let's make this an H1. Anyway, you asked about content grid. I've never tried it inside of Etch. And let's see, we would do, so it's content full. There we go. Okay. I don't want content full. I just wanted to see if it was going to work. We could do content feature. Okay. So you cannot do, there's no utility class for content to full, right? So let's see, we're going to need we're going to put this, we're going to say container 1, 2, 3. We're going to have, by the way, a button you click to generate a unique class. If you want to do something unique to this element and you don't care to BEM it and you just want a unique class generated real quick, just short circuited, real quick, I might have had a stroke, real quick on the fly, you just click a button, it'll generate one of these stupid, classes. It's like an ID, but with less specificity. Gets the job done. And then what we can say is grid column, and we do content and then full. Is that correct? Grid column content full. Grid column content full. Seems like it should be working. Let's go back and see. First of all, content grid should be on. It is. Okay, we're not defaulting sections to content grid. Let's just go see. Let's take a look-see. Let's do a little debug. Okay, let's go to inspect here. Okay. There it is right there. Okay, width of content grid, width of 100%. Grid column content. Oh, content start. But it's content start. I don't know why I was content start full. I have to go read my own documentation on damn content grid. I haven't done it in forever. I usually do it with the bricks right click context. This is what happens when you use context menus all the time. Grid column content start. Is it, first of all, let's display this grid. Let's get this grid going. Okay. Where are my name feature max full? Oh, it's probably full. Maybe it's full end. Full end. There it is right there. Content start full end. Content start full end. I thought we used to be able to do. No, that still doesn't like that. It still does not like that. Content start stretch. Any content grid experts in the house? Let's go down here. Yeah, that's what I thought, Dave. Content start full end. It's literally assigning it to the, it's kind of bothering me that these aren't named areas right here, that they're numbered areas. Because they should be named areas. I don't know if that's just a feature in Chrome that I have to turn on though. Full start, full. Because full worked. Let's just do this. Does full work here? No. Ooh, I wonder if it's a width issue. But when I did the utility class, it worked. Let's see what the utility class is doing. Because that definitely went full. Display grid. Grid column full. So what? 0, 1, 0. Like literally. Look, I'm going to copy this. Watch this. Watch this. Let's take this off. Let's go to here. Literally going to paste exactly what was working a second ago. I bet now we're going to try it. Now we're going to try it. Grid column. It's a width issue. I'll tell you why, actually. And it's because Bricks uses width and max width backwards. And ACSS is primarily designed currently to work in Bricks. And it doesn't have the proper max width declarations on this content grid situation. And this is what happens when, okay, so going back to ACSS is designed to work in a builder that does things right. Unfortunately, we had these situations where we had to handle these, and apparently this part was not handled for Bricks specifically. It was just handled that way in general. And so we've identified an area where content grid, in this case, we need some refactoring to now work with the proper width max width context. And then it should be working. We're just gonna have to isolate that different context to Bricks installations. Which, by the way, if somebody's on the team, you can make a little note that I'm gonna have to do that. I'm gonna have to refactor content grid and isolate the other version over to Bricks. Okay. This is what content grid does, by the way, though. It allows you to easily break. It's essentially a replacement for what used to be breakouts. Because you can notice I didn't have to alter the padding of this section or remove the gutter or anything like that. And then I can manipulate this back at a breakpoint to not be in that grid column. And I have a feature column. I have a feature max column. I have a lot of wiggle room. This is only one example of using content grid. So I'm glad we found that, though, because those kinds of things need to be buttoned up. Okay, let's go back to #Q. Okay, did SAS mode. Dynamic data or Parson CSS panel. It's my curiosity. It's on the list. It's on the list, yes. Does Etch plan to support Tailwind? Yes. Are facets planned for Etch? Yes. Any quick example of how Etch would manage container queries versus media queries? Well, there's no media query manager yet. Yeah, I mean, I can show you. Sure, why not? Let's talk about it. So you'll have a semblance of a breakpoint manager. This breakpoint manager will allow you to choose your own icons. That's what's going to show up down here. You have the ability, let's close her out. Let's close this out. Let's go back to here. You have the ability to label, create your own labels, which, by the way, will create, there might be a separate area for this, but imagine that when you create these labels, it's going to create reference functions and reference recipes. So like an auto expansion for media queries by referencing the name of the label. Or a mix-in that references the name of the label. Those would be auto-created for you, most likely, because nobody wants to reference these values statically. By the way, notice here it says accepts all modern values. This is the new media query syntax, the modern media query syntax. These less thans, greater than, equals, etc. And then you choose what's previewable down here. So that chooses, like, you can create breakpoints that don't necessarily have to show up here, but you have mix-ins and functions that are able to reference them. And then notice here, this little drop-down arrow, you would be able to manage container queries in the same place. So you would flip between managing breakpoints and container queries, and all of the same situation, except for probably the icon, would happen. These would be names, like you could say card. So here's my card container query. Or even like my main card or my icon card container. Like you can have an infinite amount of them, and you would manage your container queries in much the same way. And then you could even potentially have a breakpoint mode and a container query mode, where you're like, okay, I want to preview what this container query is doing. You could click the icon, and maybe at that point it would have an icon still. You would be able to click the icon and preview a container query on the canvas, right? So you can see when it's triggering, what it's doing. Is it doing the right thing? Yeah, so does this help? Does this help understand how breakpoints are going to manifest? And by the way, this is mine. I haven't really even discussed this with the team yet. There's 11 of us. So we all take concepts and we get together, we look at it, we yell at each other for a while, and then it turns into some semblance of this, but usually way better. And then, so don't take this at face value. This is just the ideas and how it is currently, and notice this is gonna be in a modal. So this is all happening in the builder, but it's not gonna be in a side panel or anything like that. We're gonna introduce the concept of modals for a lot of these settings areas. And yeah. I think there's only 2 questions left, and then we'll get out of here. Okay. Anything about a clamp calculator like you have on your site, or is that not needed? Just thinking. Clamp calculator, it's my second stroke of the day. Clamp calculators are completely and utterly unnecessary. Even fields, I've seen fields in builder interfaces where it gives you a min and a max. You need to know with automatic CSS is a different context and a different situation. When I go here to typography, I go to H1, for example, it gives me a min and a max. You would never want this in a builder. Now, it makes sense in a framework, because this framework, when I put in values here, it generates min-max tokens that can then be used safely other places. It also generates a clamp function, and clamp function also, the middle value is a math formula that references my website's content width. They're clamps, to do clamps correctly, especially for things like typography and spacing and on and on and on. Now you could do one-off little clamps here for like the image width or something in a weird situation, that's fine. But for things that are used globally throughout a website, everything has to be tokenized. The min, the max have to be tokenized. The middle value has to be calculated based on your website's content width. There's a crazy like NASA formula for doing it. You never want to deal with that kind of nonsense. But the idea that people would just go around willy-nilly putting min-max values everywhere and let the builder generate clamps that's the same as using magic values. You're just using magic numbers everywhere. They're responsive magic numbers, but they're magic numbers nonetheless. So it makes sense in ACSS because ACSS is going to generate tokens for all this stuff, where a builder is just going to accept your static values and then allow you to use magic numbers. It just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Can we please have a poetry block? All right, well, we now know that Doveber is Matt Mullenweg, okay? Thanks for coming, Matt. All right, glad to have you. I don't know if Etch will have a poetry block, Matt, but we will. How about this? Matt? If you want Etch to have a poetry block, I'm gonna need you to submit a ticket in Git. You may even need to become a contributor. I'm just gonna let you know up front. Maybe if we get a little 5 for the future money, we could put a poetry block in there. It's very possible. But I think maybe you're gonna have to create a contributor account and then spearhead that for us, and we'll see if it passes and gets added into core at some point in the future. All right. Will the April alpha have ACSS baked in, or will no? It's not going to have ACSS baked in. You see that we have this. There's the idea that it could potentially fire in a panel like this, but we're not going to rebuild it again. We just spent $70,000 or whatever it was rebuilding it for this version and for all of the magic that it does in terms of live preview and SaaS and all that good stuff. This is SaaS, by the way. Well, this is just add font face declarations, but this is a SaaS editor. And by the way, this has instant SaaS preview. Instant SaaS preview. I don't know if it works in Etch. Let's just check it. Guys, that doesn't happen anywhere else. I don't think SaaS people even realize that this might have been even possible. Normally with SaaS, you have to save and it runs a preprocessor and it figures out what you did and then it converts it into CSS. Like, these are the kinds of things we're talking about. This is the technology that we engineered. It's essentially, there's my third stroke of the day, instant SaaS processing on the fly. That's going to be in Etch. So when you write SaaS in Etch, you won't even have to save to pre-process it. You'll have it instant like this. Okay? Just happens. I don't have to hit save. I don't have to pre-process it. Nobody's heard of this. Nobody's heard of this in the world of SaaS. Okay? ACSS has been doing this for a while. Okay? Yeah. This is, these are the kinds of, we'll accept your contributor account, but you'll have to state that pineapple. Yes, exactly. Okay. I'm telling you, like, let me remind you, like, you're seeing 6 months of a build. Like, you can't even fathom what this is going to be able to do at the 1.5 year mark, let's say. Because we're doing so, it's just like with ACSS. Do you realize ACSS was the first framework to have a dashboard? Okay, then it was the first framework to have clamp functions that, by the way, that did the math for you on this and that were related to each other by a math scale. It was the first framework that did that. It was the first framework that had a user editable color system like this with auto-generated shades and auto-generated transparencies. Okay? There's a laundry list of these things just did not exist. There is no other card framework. There is no other icon framework that I know of. Form styling the entire form with a single utility class and being able to control all of that. And then we gave live instant preview in the dashboard that loads in the area you're working because we wanted to eliminate the magic area of the backend dashboard. It's just first after the same kind of innovation that came to ACSS is the same kind of innovation that is going to come to Etch, just in different contexts and different ways. But that's like what we do. We don't just create another thing. It's always hold on. Why isn't it being done this way? Well, this is way better. Why don't we just do it this way? And just constantly thinking. And we're actual users of the tool. We're not a team that sits around brainstorming going, I wonder what we could bake in that might be potentially helpful. What we do is we actually build projects. And when we're on projects, we're scratching our head going, I don't know why that's done that way. Like when I'm in a builder, and then you learn what should and shouldn't be done just by, default. But here's an example. People were like, oh, you can create components inside of Elementor. Well, I mean, not like we do, right? But their thing that they call components. But the first time I tested it, I was like, oh, that's neat. Let me go try that. And then I wanted to make one and it was like, oh, you can't do that here. You got to go out here. You got to go to this other place. And then I was like, okay, I don't know that I like that, but I go to the other place and then I'm trying to build my component. I'm like, but I don't know what my component's going to look like in the context of where it's going to live because I'm not where it lives. I'm in this other place. And you can't even build what you need to build because you can't even see it properly. And then you realize that this happens over and over and over in all these tools, that there's always these various magic areas like this. The templating is a magic area. The settings for the builder is a magic. Why? I'm in the damn builder. Why aren't the settings here? It's just unexplainable things. They're just unexplainable. Like the sync between, it was, did we enjoy the game of where is my styling coming from? Oh, well, that's in an input. Oh, that's at that breakpoint. Well, that's in the style sheet. Well, that's in the this and that's, why didn't anybody before us go, that's not a fun game? Let's engineer a way to fix that. That's what we actually do. We run into headaches and complications and problems and we go, that needs to be fixed. We don't just live with it. We don't just, yeah, that's unfortunate, but it's just the way it's going to be. Like, we are constantly trying to innovate it and make it way, way, way better. Okay. Yeah, I would go to, look, I think there's, maybe it's Manifesto, if I remember correctly. By the way, this site is under constant DDoS attacks. So if you go there and you notice it's slow or it's down or it's we've been battling this incessantly. Look at this list. These are all the things. These just things did not. Nobody was contextualizing spacing. Nobody had smart spacing. If you don't even know what smart spacing is, you can't imagine the power of smart spacing. But again, nobody was contextualizing spacing. Nobody was auto-spacing things. Auto-spacing things with zero specificity so that it doesn't actually matter when you don't need the spacing. Again, icon framework, card framework, border framework, divider framework, texture and overlay framework, single class form styling, auto BIM, variable expansion and validation. Who is expanding variables and calcs and all of that, right? Recipes. These were all innovated by ACSS. So this is exactly what is going to happen in Etch. And it's already what's happening. You already see. Where have you seen an if block before? That you just drag things in and out of conditions. And that wasn't my idea. That wasn't my idea. This is why you surround yourself with very talented other people, okay? Because I always go, here's what it needs to do. And then, a Chris or a Waji or a Mateo or a Reinhardt or a whoever goes, oh, well, in Svelte, it's done like this, and that would be way better if we did it like this. Or in Vue, they do it like this. Or, well, Svelte does it like this, and Vue does it like this, and we already know which one is better. Let's do it like that, yada, yada, yada. Those conversations always happen. The collision warning system. Chris comes out of nowhere. He's like, I think I have a way to, and I'm not going to tell you how it's done, but hijack essentially a certain way that CSS is processed by the browser. And we can, well, I really don't want to give away too many details, but he just comes out of the blue with this thing and architects a way to build a collision warning system for styles, which solves a major problem in tools like this. That wasn't me, right? I knew collisions were a problem. I didn't know it was a solvable problem, right? Until Chris showed up out of the blue and goes, I think I have a solution to that problem. And I was like, that's awesome. We're gonna 100% gonna bake that in, right? And this is the problem with teams of one and teams of two. They're very limited. They're very, very limited. That can't happen on a team of one or two. If it was just me, those things would not happen. So as much as I do bring to the table with ideas and problems that need solutions, and here's how I think we should solve it, it would be severely limited if it was just me. Severely limited. And then again, you have a team maybe like an Element or a Divi who might have 30 people. I don't know how many people they have working on a thing at any one time. But the reason they don't come up with this stuff is because they're not thinking about you. They're not thinking about the problems we're thinking about. They're thinking about how to make it a bit easier for my grandmother. Well, solving problems for my grandmother doesn't solve problems for me. We go back to the initial premise. If you create software with the wrong premise, you get the wrong answers. Not necessarily that they're wrong, just they're wrong for us, okay? That premise is so important for people to understand, that it doesn't matter how much money Elementor has, it doesn't matter how big their team is or how genius their team is. They're building a product for my grandmother. They're not building a product for me. So they're not gonna solve the problems that I want solved. So their money, their purse, their people, it doesn't matter. It's inconsequential. They're not working on the right problems. So, yeah. Okay. How many years have you been involved in these things? How much time did you dedicate to learning them? Can you please share? I started building websites when I was probably 10. We're talking like GeoCities. We're talking like all the early front page. And by the way, I was very heavy. When I started learning, I was already on the train of I would rather not write all the HTML by hand. I would rather not write all the CSS by hand if I don't have to. And so Dreamweaver, Front Page, you know, all these tools that kind of took that visual approach in the very beginning. That's where I started. And I just stayed very front end the entire time, right? And then, you know, hobby sites, hobby blogs, things like that. Had a brick and mortar martial arts studio for the majority, well, the majority of my 20s, I guess. And I was running that. And then I was like, I don't like being tied to a location. I don't like being tied to a schedule. What the hell am I doing? And then the guy I was partnered with, I should tell this story because it ties in really well with the experiment, but the ultimate decline of big advertising contracts that I was signing and then backing out of late last year. I won't name the companies, but it was a lot of money. It was a significant amount of money, where I was going to experiment with doing sponsored videos, and there were fairly large checks. And I ultimately was like, I'm not going to do that for a very specific reason. It actually ties back to some of the stuff that was happening when we were running the martial arts studio, because I had a partner in that studio that was all about money, all about no, standards don't matter. Just pass these kids. Just give them new belts, because every time they come to a test, they write a check, and that's just what we need to do. We're a business, and I had enough of that, and I was like, I'm not doing that. And I tried to fight against it for a very long time, and so he'd be like, that kid needs to test. It's been too long, and I'm like, he's not ready, and he's like, he needs to test. It's been too long. He's gonna quit. If he quits, we won't have the revenue. Plus, we get the revenue from the belt test. Blah blah blah. It's a fucking belt factory. That's what these people run. They run belt factories, and I was trying to fight against it until I realized I can't win this. And I just have to get out of it. And so I finally had enough, and I got out of doing that. And I was like, by the way, I want to work anywhere, and I want to work on my own schedule. And so that sucked anyway. Let's do our own thing. And I went back to, I've got these skills online. Let's go back to doing stuff online. But I've been doing this stuff, since I was 12, essentially. Yeah, all of them did. I'm pretty sure Front Page wrote horrific code too. What's the collision warning system? Okay, I'll show that, then we got to get out of here. It should work in this one. I believe they fixed the bug. So let's go hashtag heading. So that's going to be an ID. It's going to be an ID of heading. I'll do heading 123 or something, okay? And then we'll also add a class, okay, of my heading. So I have these two things right here. Did I not? I don't think I put maybe I did. My heading. There we go. Okay, so I have an ID and I have a class. Obviously, well, if you're a beginner, an ID will defeat a class. Doesn't matter the order they come in. An ID will just always defeat a class, okay? And I'm testing this with an ID because I don't think we tested it with an ID, so I want to see. But if I go to my heading 123 right here, and I go to color and I say red, and then I go to my heading, we're going to see that red is shown as the inherited value, but maybe I forgot. Maybe I forgot that I put the red on it. Maybe I come back a month later and I want to change the color of this heading on this class, my heading, and I say I really want that to be green. It's not green. And why isn't it green? Well, it's green because the ID is winning. But if we don't have a collision warning system, you won't know why it's not working. And then you'll have to inspect the page, but you don't even know how to inspect the page because you're a beginner, right? Yada, 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 okay? So notice that the label has turned yellow. And if I hover over it, it'll say the value is overwritten by heading 123. And if I click that, it's going to take me to heading 123, and I can easily fix the conflict. I can decide, oh, okay, I really want to make it green here, where it will actually turn green. Or I'm going to say to myself, why the hell did I style that at the ID level? I don't want to do that. I want to use my heading. And now my heading's green will actually work. But the collision warning system is letting me know that it's not working here and why it's not working here. And it'll actually take me to where I need to fix it, okay? And make a new decision. So that is the collision warning system. And that's not just for beginners. That's very helpful. When you have advanced stuff going on and you've written a lot of rules and you got a lot of classes, it's very easy to create a competing style. And it'll be like, why is that not working? And you don't know if it's the browser causing it. You don't know if it's the builder you're using causing a conflict. You don't know if it's a style you wrote. You don't know if it's an external style sheet. This will literally tell you, it doesn't right now, but it'll literally tell you it's overwritten by XYZ style sheet. I'm pretty sure we can even tell you what line the style is coming from. Once again, you don't see this anywhere else. We find problems, we engineer solutions. We don't just sit around brainstorming what might be cool. That's not what we do. We identify real problems and we develop real innovative solutions for those problems. This is just a temporary UI. You're not seeing the actual UI. This is just like okay, does the functionality work? The UI for it is coming. Yeah, and then as Daniel said, you end up using important because you can't find the style, right? So if I do green, let's do this. Notice I can put important in here anytime I want. When I go to heading 1, 2, 3, look at this. Value overwritten by my heading. Takes me there, shows me why. Right? So vice versa, it works. And it is able to identify important values. Does it show a warning or some indication when creating the same class name? Let's try it. Okay. So my heading is down there, right? Is it going to create a second my heading? No. Just doesn't do anything. It's like, dog, you already got that there. You already have that there. I can change the name, right? So I'll say a different name. Okay. And then I'll click out a different name, a different name. Okay, so it's kept the styles and it's essentially found and replaced. I don't think that's exactly how it works, but that's essentially what it's done everywhere, which you can't even do that in VS Code. That's why these builders are the best of both worlds. If you want to do that in VS Code, you would have to literally go find and replace every instance. You can do that with a command in VS Code, but you do have to like at least, read them and make sure you're doing the right thing, or you have to use regex or something. Like it's not that easy. That's way easier. I can right click, I can delete it. Now it's gone from the database. Okay, so and we're gonna have a whole class management UI. All of that is gonna exist for sure. Yeah, important should be avoided at all costs. Absolutely. Which is why you need a collision warning system that tells you, hey, you got something going on over here. You might want to take a look at it because that's what's winning right now. Then you can make a new decision. Would that work even if the class is present on other pages? 100,000%. Yeah, it would be useless if it didn't. It works site-wide. It will rename the class site-wide and replace site-wide. I would love to take a look at Etch WP during a live stream today as well. Can I showcase a sandbox version? That would suck because the timer on it is not very long. Let's do this. If you are a legit content creator with a legit channel, which I know you are, Lex, but I'm talking to everybody right now, okay? If you're a legit creator with a legit channel, you can message our team and we can get you an installable file early, like maybe now, okay? I got to talk to the rest of the team, but we can probably get you an installable file and you could just use that. And that'll make life easier for you. And then you won't have to worry about the sandbox. We can't do that for everybody, but if you're a legit content creator and you want to do that, go ahead and either DM me, or I would go in the community, do it from inside of the Etch community, DM me in the Etch community, and we'll get you taken care of. So like Dave Foy, Lex, Mark Zemansky, anybody else, like a rat, Toby, Kraka, anybody else I can rattle off the top of my head. If you have a license, which I assume you do, okay, because you're gonna message inside the Etch community, then I will get you a copy. Okay, I got to get out of here. This has been fun. It's been great. It's been fantastic. We found some additional things to work on and improve, which is always good. And yeah, I will see you guys again very soon. All my videos now will start being done in Etch, so we're gonna have a lot of fun. And you're gonna see the progress over the course of all the videos that I'm doing, which is gonna be also fun. And it'll be fun to look back. Remember what Etch looked like at the 6-month mark? When we're a year down the line, that'll be good as well. So I'll be back very soon. You'll see more of me. Don't worry. You have till Friday. If you don't have a license, you have till Friday to get your license in this round. And that is it. When will we be able to download Etch? I don't know exact date, but definitely in April. Definitely in April. All right, guys. Peace.